Shop Mother's Day deals at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Buy one, get one 50% off freely apparel. Get 25% off Magellan Outdoors drinkware and get footwear for her starting at $19.99. Shop your store or academy.com. Deals end on Mother's Day. Exclusions and restrictions apply. See academy.com/disclaimers.
Shopping, if you want to support us, do a little shopping at our store at spacedoutradio.com. The gorgeous Jenny, good to see you. Rock the Gaspar and Gong Show, welcome back. The J is pronounced like Jose. Okay, so Hinoyosa, welcome. There we go. I feel better about that. We're about 30 seconds away. The Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to be a part of our family. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell if you have not already. And the on-air sign is on, Jules. It's on. You know what the weird part about it is? I turned this off last night, and I have no idea how this is on today. I have no idea. I'm weirded out by it, to be honest. I just noticed it. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. Melinda Leslie is here talking UFOs and experiencers. In hour number 3, the Swamp Dweller is back with another spooky story from the swamp. Super Duke will bring us the Cryptid Report. It's Dave 101 time, and Shirky Poo has the news. One of my favorite people in the UFO world is Melinda Leslie. She's an incredible researcher and investigator based out of Sedona, Arizona. Over 30 years of experience and research. She has a great nighttime tour in Sedona called UFOsightingtours.com. She's done over 1,600 tours of people, taking people into the desert looking for UFOs. But on a personal note, Melinda is also a UFO abductee. She has had issues with what they call MyLabs. She's seen and been there with aliens. She has dropped the gloves with government officials and people who are insiders trying to play the game away from disclosure. And she is one of the loudest and proudest voices that I know in this field. And we're glad to have her here. Melinda Leslie, it is always a pleasure to have you. And I want to say a big thank you to coming out to Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago to attend the first ever SOR fan party. Our audience loved it, and we were so glad that you were there.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I just saw the sheen on that and said, that is really annoying. Okay. But thank you, Dave. I had so much fun in Vegas. Oh my God, so much fun. So that was really fun, and everyone you had on your show that night was so interesting. You know, the stories. A couple of people who just knocked it out of the park on the show that night. I would say Mike Schratt did, and certainly Sean Cahill did, and a couple of people. Just their whole presentations were really good that night, and it was so much fun to do. So thank you for having me, man.
Melinda, 30 plus years you've been chasing down the UFO story. That's half a lifetime for many people, including yourself. And Why have you been so passionate about learning the truth about UFOs over the years?
Oh, God. Well, my own experiences, and the so many people I've met with experiences. It's just, it hits home. It's a very personal thing. First off, I've had just so many sightings. The more and more sightings I have, UFO sightings, of course, UAP sightings, I get really frustrated with the people who are going, oh, well, Tic Tacs or drones or planes, and I'm just like, and of course I get a lot of people saying, oh, satellites, she's only seeing satellites. On my tour, we've seen fully structured craft. I mean, like this floating in the air, full structure 60 times, over 60 times, and so I learn I constantly have to bite my tongue and have patience, with other people and where they're at with the subject. And, yeah, it just takes patience, but it's because of all those sightings. It's because of, my own abductions, that, and again, I've run abduction support groups for a lot of years. I did. Not now, but I did for years. And I've worked with so many people in my covert human involvement research, otherwise known as my labs, but that research, just working with hundreds of people with experiences and like I said, running support groups, sitting in support groups, it's funny. I'm getting like this edge, Dave. I'm getting edgy. I'm getting, I get burnout and frustrated with the people who keep wanting to take us back to square one, and I get it when we're out there. I mean, I do a tour every night where I'm trying to prove to people it's real. So I get the need for that. And I do. And thank God we have amazing signs because people come out and go, oh my God. I had a lady the other night who bailed early because I think she didn't think it was going to be real sightings. She got freaked out, And when we started to have real stuff, she jumped in her car and left. And everyone said, we think she, like everyone else on the tour said, she was seeming pretty freaked out, and it's like, look, don't come on. If you don't want to see him, don't come on my tour.
I want to ask you something about your tour.
And if you think it's all satellites, come on my tour and see for yourself that it's not. Yeah, of course we see satellites. But when you see 5 things flying in formation that come in a tight formation and then split up and go other directions, we had that happen recently. The other night we had 3 things in a triangle formation make a big arcing turn. Nothing does that. We flash at things. We go 1, 2, 3 at the laser. Sometimes they go 1, 2, 3 back. There's no lighting on satellites. They can't flash back at a laser. And an iridium flare is a one-time event. They're not going to go flash, flash, flash in response to a laser. So I just get so frustrated. You can tell. And tonight I was so edgy before all day long, knowing I was going to be doing this. And I'm like, how do I not come off like I'm just like pissed off all the time, even though I'm smiling? But it's like, and then I watched a video that, thank you, Bryce Zabel, you saved my life. This funny thing. I'll look up the name of it in just a second. It cracked me up. And I'm just pulling a blank right now, but as soon as I remember. But that thing made me go, that's how I feel. And I'm sure if anyone else there saw it and knows what I'm talking about, I'll tell you in just a second here. But it was hysterical. And I think it said at the end that he wrote it, even though he had a professional voice guy do the reading of it. I think he said he wrote it, and it just, it was exactly how I feel. and it made me laugh, and it made me go, okay. And that also told me, because that was done, by Bryce and by Ross Colhart, and that told me those guys get it. Particularly Bryce. He gets it. He gets it from forward and backwards and upside down and sideways, and every angle he gets it, and the frustrations, and he sure expressed the frustrations for me in that piece. So in a moment I'll look it up and tell you. I wish I could remember the name off the top of my head.
Melinda, I want to ask you a question about your tour, because I know you have had numerous people take your tour over the years, And I'm wondering, you ever have anybody famous come out and take your tours, like actors or well-known people that we would know outside of the UFO community? I know you've mentioned before Jim Semivan has taken your tour, but I'm saying like movie stars.
No, Jim did not come on my tour yet.
Oh, I thought he
keeps
did.
saying he's going to, but he hasn't yet. No, but I have. I have, and yeah.
Are you allowed to say?
I'm open to it, but no, I don't feel comfortable doing so without asking them, kind of thing. But I've taken a few people, and it depends on what you mean, famous. I've taken, different, radio hosts and TV hosts and some news people, and and without
no famous movie stars.
I don't think it's polite to
no, I understand.
say their names without their permission to do so.
I understand that, but movie stars, rock stars, musicians, people like that, have they ever taken your tour, names that we would know? You don't have to give their names.
Not so much. I mean, yeah, you would know some of these names, but no, not, in all honesty, not anyone I would say is that big. I'd have to think about it because I've taken out so many people. And I'm an idiot about these things. Sometimes I take people out and then I find out later who they were. Like if I don't recognize a name right away, because they're signing up through the Center for the New Age. But no, I mean, actually, only a handful. I've really not taken out that many.
Right on. Melinda Leslie is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Melinda, 30-plus years of research, lifetime of experience. What have you learned about yourself throughout these years?
Oh, gosh. What have I learned about myself? At times, I can be strong and hard as nails. And there's an inner strength. I've been doing the covert human involvement research for 30 years. People still don't get it. I still get attacked over it. People in the field don't believe it. I'm not asked to speak at any of the conferences about it. We're talking 30 years, probably over 200 cases, people I've interviewed in depth. And there's like, you could hear a pin drop in the community, about it. I mean, people aren't interested. I mean, thank you. You've given me a platform, which I greatly appreciate, and a few people do. But as far as like major UFO conferences wanting to have me cover it, very few. I get asked to do TV shows and stuff. They don't want to cover that usually, And also, it's too difficult to do in a single segment. It requires a whole presentation. It requires a whole bunch of data, and yet I've had 30 years of nothing. I've been in the field for 32 years. I've been doing that research for 30 of those, and I still get pushback. I still get pushback for being an abductee. People. Sorry, my cell phone has a mind of its own. It's decided to all of a sudden play music. Anyway, so yeah, it's just, and yet sometimes I think, Dave, this came up in some recent stuff that I don't need to go into here, but where I realize to go through some of the things I've gone through, and I'm not tooting my own horn, you guys. I mean, I hear this from other people, so I get support in the field. I just don't have the research community asking me to lecture about it. I don't have people wanting to do articles on it, or it's a constant twisting of arms to get other people to come forward with their own experiences. And so those few of us that are forward are out there like hanging in the wind because other people won't come forward. And so I've had to find an inner strength to pull on to say, okay, I get it. Not everyone gets it. Not everyone's going to understand it. They're very uncomfortable about it. And I've had to have that for 30 years. And I go, okay. And yet I'm constantly helping people with experiences. And yet, it makes me think of maybe abduction researchers way back when ufology was so nuts and bolts that people like a Bud Hopkins or a Dave Jacobs or a Leo Sprinkle or John Carpenter or John Mack couldn't get, or even, Barbara Lamb way back when, or other people, they couldn't get listened to, And so you had an abduction research community and the rest of UFO community kind of separate. Anyway, so you asked a simple question, but it is a difficult answer. But I've learned that I have an inner resource of strength I can pull upon, and it's not always there. I had something come up in life that was scaring me, and the owner of the Sanford New Age thought that I was putting off something because I was feeling overwhelmed. And I was talking to her and her significant other, long story, but about how, like, that, I'll let that stuff scare me. And that everyone says, oh, you're so strong. People tell me, oh, you're so strong. And yet I'm not always, of course not. I'm a human being, and it shows in weird places like that, and, but I realize I do have a strength I can draw on, a courage I can draw on. And I've had to use it to survive many times. There we go. Long answer, but that's
well, I think that's great. And you've built a strong foundation around you, though, in a lot of legendary people, whether it's Daniel Sheehan, Lorian Fenton, Misha Johnson, Grant Cameron, and others who have really bonded together with you and many others to go over and build your research together. I mean, the way it's supposed to be done. And we don't see a lot of that in the UFO field anymore.
Well, luckily, I mean, I get tremendous support in the field and the more long-standing abduction field or research field, even basic ufology. Thank God. It's just, it's like lip service, but when I'm not asked to present the data, and I get it, the data scares people, but also because some real damage was done to that data by people speaking negatively about it and people misusing the subject and giving everyone an incorrect idea. So with those folks over the last 15 years, let's say, I've had to do so much damage control. I'm constantly having to undo the wrong about the subject, even to the point where now, and I know you and I are going to get into this more, where I'm going to put together an organization specifically to undo some of the wrong, because in the midst of this,
you froze up there, Melinda.
Subject realm.
You froze.
We froze up.
Yeah, you froze up there for a second.
Okay, am I good now?
You're good now. Thank you.
Sometimes I'm doing this in my office, and sometimes the internet here glitches, but it's still better than what I have at home. So, long story short, there. So it's the abduction subject's taking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's taking the back seat. It's being left behind. I just mentioned before how those major researchers years ago, you had the nuts and bolts and they had to fight. And I'm like, why do I feel like we're going back down that path? Why do I feel like we're having to fight for our place in the subject, our place in understanding this subject? Because I've always said, and I end every presentation I've done for years with if you're not including all the data, you have an incomplete story. You have an incomplete understanding, and you don't have the truth if you're not including all the data. So as soon as someone says, we're not ready for that, it's like, well, it's not about being ready for it. And it gets down to this. I was really thinking of this over the last couple of days, knowing I was doing this interview and just thinking about it. There's a reason the ETs are here. There's a couple of reasons. And I constantly am asked on my tours. I mean, like 3 out of every 4 tours, or at least 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, I get asked, why are the ETs here? Why are they, it's one thing to say over Sedona and about our vortices and increased electromagnetic fields and blah, 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 and why they might be here, particularly in Sedona or other hot spots in the world. Why are they, but why are they visiting Earth? And there's statistical data. On one hand, I say we don't really know, because that's the truth. We don't really know. But we can say, here's the statistics. Here's bunches of data to show a plethora of stuff that they're doing here that comes up consistently over and over and over again. And you guys, no matter how hard you look at it from any angle, the number one thing that the statistics and the data says what the ETs are doing here is abductions. And because the numbers compared to any others in any other statistical category are off the chart. And so for anyone to, because even though, all the disclosure people are saying, well, we can't go there, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, wait a second. It's the number one reason they're here, according to all the statistical data, when you seriously look at the data as far as all the reasons why they're here. And there's like a top 20 list or top 10 list. You get into cattle mutilations and crop circles and their interest in the ocean and nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, and the military and what they're doing. And no matter what, nothing compares or comes even close to the number of abductees. And guess what? The people putting forth all that disclosure stuff comes out of what? ATIP OSAP, the feed off into currently AOI MSG, okay? But you go, there's a history here. Everybody knows the timeline. If you've been in the field the last 5 years, you can go boom, ding, 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 right? We could lay it out as a timeline. But you go, where does that come from? That comes from, go back to OSAP. What's OSAP but BASS? What's BASS but the working group? And that's Bigelow funding everything. And Bigelow helping, well, he was the money. It's not about Bigelow, but he was the money that allowed for it.
Blue Diamond honey roasted almonds are my love language. Sweet, salty, irresistible. But the crunchy and tangy salt and vinegar also give me the feels. The choice is hard with flavors so good. Blue Diamond almonds, super flavor, all on a superfood.
Sometimes you need to take control to make a difference. That's why with FlexPath from Capella University, you're in control. Set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move at a pace that works for you. Discover a different way forward at capella.edu.
And then got the government contracts, and the late Senator, Harry Reid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We all know the story, or at least I hope most of your listeners do. And you go, well, wait a second. Those guys, I do a whole presentation on they had two major interests from friggin' 1980 and before, but I can track it back to 1980 to now. There are two major interests. One was the technology, okay. The possible feed-offs and being able to make money off of it and reverse engineer and of course. And their professional backgrounds related to companies involved in that. Okay, that makes perfect sense. But the other number two equal interest by that group and the money and by OSAP was abductions. And we finally all get blown away that this has been there all along, and it took reading the Skinwalker book, the last one, for everyone to go, oh my God, this has always been part of it. And I've been talking about that group and their existence for 32 years. And I've been saying this is their interest in abductions. And you go, well, wait a second. They've known all along how important it is. And you guys, you know why? Because, as I was just saying, it's the reason the ETs are here. You look at all the statistical data. I guarantee you start gathering the data, and the numbers in abductions outweigh the numbers of anything else. And then you go to what abductions are mainly. Yes, there's many things. And yes, I don't want to piss off anyone out there who's a contactee experiencer. And it's also contact. Yes, okay, it's contact because contact's gone throughout history. So I don't mean to emphasize abduction. I mean any form of contact. But even within that, the greatest statistical data is their interest in our genetics and the creation of hybrids. And again, I'm talking pure numbers, pure stats, pure science, pure research.
On that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Melinda, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Thank you for letting me rant. Always. That's why we love bringing you on here. When we come back on Spaced Out Radio with Melinda Leslie tonight, we are going to get into experiencers. They have been the forgotten souls of ufology, as we've talked before on this show, and we are going to find out how the experiencers are about to make their voice heard coming up on Spaced Out Radio. Our guest tonight, Melinda Leslie. It's a great night for UFOs, ET contact. Hey, check your skies. You never know what you're going to see flying around right now while you listen to this show. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear.
I feel better.
Me too.
I needed to do that.
I am getting my...
I swear, the last couple of days I wanted to, set my head on fire and go running through the streets just because I'm like, this community's driving me nuts,
All right.
And like I said, finally, I got to really laugh because I realized I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one feeling that way when I saw that thing by Bryce Zabel, which I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to look at it here and tell you what it's called because I'm just pulling a blank. I hate it when my brain freezes up. Well, part of it's working all day and being tired. Okay.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to say hello to a few people who've jumped into our chat room tonight. Cryptid 559, Thurston Howell III. Good to see you guys. And let's see here. Who else is here? Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Good to see you. Armando, it's been a while. How you doing, man? Good to have you back. The Michael Leger is here, everyone. The Michael Leger. And Andrew and Tia, welcome back. Is it Andrew or Tia or Andrew and Tia? We need to know these things. I mean, you just can't, spring it upon us. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. The gorgeous Canadian herself, Allison Yellowknee. Jazzy Small, welcome. Human Carl's here, everyone. Human Carl has arrived. We love you, Human Carl. Another great veteran who listens to this show. We love you, Human Carl. Oh, it's Tia. Andrew is MIA. And Tia is TIA. Coincidence? I think not. Lovely Lara, nice to have you here. Eris Mana, good to see you.
Oh, oops.
Don't worry, I'm just eating Tums.
Oh, I was like, I lost you for a minute. The name of that, remind me when we go back on the air, I'll say it, A Profound Rant About Modern Ufology. Sure. And I think it's written by Bryce.
All right. Hi, Mennonite Abe. Hi there, Kawhi Snyder. How are you? Let's see here. And just for, security purposes, we will show you the updated picture of our new security guard in California. This is the official SOR security guard right here. There she is, lovely Lola, being trained by Mr. Oob himself, Joe Monk. Look how cute she is. My God, she's cute.
Oh,
yeah,
that is cute.
Isn't she cute? Corey Stewart, how are you? That is one of our listeners, Joe. He's been a listener for like 7 years. This is his brand new puppy, Lola.
Oh my gosh, so cute.
She is so beautiful.
So cute.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Just amazing.
She will rip any alien and Bigfoot apart that tries to ruin this show. Yep. That's the truth of it. We love Lola around here. We love her.
Oh my gosh. She is adorable.
Mm-hmm. That she is. That she is.
Yeah, she's adorable. My goodness. But that Bryce Zabel Cohart piece, Bryce wrote it, and like I said, he had some famous guy, he says about who the guy is, I don't remember that either, but who did the the read of it, and it's this funny piece. Oh, come on. God, my phone's just driving me nuts. But it's called a profane rant about modern ufology. Everyone, if you haven't heard this, hear it. It'll give you a chuckle. Now, if bad language really offends you, don't listen. But it's said in great humor.
I can't play it on my YouTube channel for strikes.
No.
Right?
Yeah,
we got about 30
because of the language.
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds here. I want to say a big thank you to UFO Garage Ben and Gary and his beard, R&R, Bigfoot Rob for the amazing super chats tonight. Who's got birthday woo? Simply Coco, do you have birthday woo tonight? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Simply Coco. Happy birthday to you. My mom's birthday, too. Here we go.
You can actually sing. Pretty good.
I want to say a big happy birthday to one of our listeners tonight, Simply Coco. She's in the chat room almost nightly. She shares her birthday with my mama, who turned 79 years old today. And I want to say happy birthday to both of them. Special, special day here on Spaced Out Radio. I mean, you have to be. You know what? I am blessed, to be honest with you. I'm going to be 49 years old in a couple of weeks. And I still have both my parents alive. And I am extremely fortunate for that. So I want to say happy birthday to my mom, who is one shy of 80 now. And she's still going strong, even though she's struggling right now with her health. But we'll send her some good love and some good healing as she battles some kidney issues. And she's a trooper, though. Old Phil, she's a trooper. Nonetheless, we got a show to continue on here. And I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Melinda Leslie. You can go on her UFO sighting tour down in Sedona, Arizona. She has over 1,600 tours that she has completed. 1,500. Close enough. We're just rounding up by one. And you know what, Melinda, you are a lifelong experiencer. You are someone who is very passionate about getting the story of experiencers out. And it's been very difficult the last few years as we saw the To the Stars Academy come into play, really push the experiencers to the side for the more militaristic side of the aviation threat that we have been trying to combat, no pun intended, throughout the years. As an experiencer, how important are we as experiencers to ufology? Because most of ufology just does not pay attention to what people are going through.
Well, it's what I was saying before the break, that if you look at the sheer statistical data for why ETs are here, and I get asked, because my clients, they have sightings, but that's the next thing they ask on the tours, why they're here. Now, of course, I was saying earlier, they ask about why particularly Sedona. I get into it as a hot spot and energy, blah, blah, blah. And that's a whole nother explanation. But then they're like, no, why are they visiting Earth? And truth is, we don't really know, other than based on the evidence, the statistical data for the things that they're seen doing here. And there's definitely, a top 10 or 20 list of what those things are. I'd say top 10 list. But when you look at the statistics for even those things that they're seen doing the most, nothing compares to the numbers with abductions. So why are abductees important? Or even contactees, anyone with contact. I don't, because people get upset, I hate all the labels. I hate experience, or I hate abductee, I hate all of it. But if I say, well, you're having contact with this unknown, with this intelligence, okay. And that is in many forms. But those people who are contactees, again, the amount of evidence for that and the amount of people doesn't even, it's so far out statistically from everything else in sheer numbers that craft and beings are seen doing, even if it's just craft, that you go, okay, this is obviously important to the aliens. They're here for us. You, me, the people who've had contact. That's why they're here. And yes, they do other things too. I'm not negating all the other stuff, but again, if you look at just sheer numbers, there's no comparison. And so then you're going, okay, they're here because of us. They're here, for whatever they're doing with people. And so that's why we matter. And when my clients, John Q. Public, you guys, I've taken out 9,500. I've done the math, because I've taken out a lot of big groups and stuff. And it's like you go, what's the, they're there to have sightings, but then they want to know why. And it's one thing for me to sit there and say, well, I don't really know, we don't really know, blah, blah, blah. And then, there's channeled information, stuff like that. But you guys, I actually kind of downplay the significance of that on my tours because there's no way to verify. But I go, what are the things that they're seen physically doing? And then I go through like that top 10 list, like I said, and I explain to them, though, the number one thing that there's no numbers that compare to it is abductions and contact. So why do we matter? Well, apparently we matter to them, apparently they're here for us. And then you can get into, why that might be. And again, there's a statistical breakdown on that. But it's a number of things, People are given warnings and concerns about the environment. So that obviously is a concern to them. Obviously, the whole nuclear thing is a concern to them. Again, the environment, our attitudes towards violence. But also, again, there's this interest in the hybridization and the creation of hybrids. And because even though a lot of things happen in the abduction scenario, that's still the number one thing. People can have a variety of stuff, but they're taking sperm from the guys and ovum from the women almost every time and presenting people with hybrids almost every time. Again, it's not 100%, but it's 90% of the experiences, and it's like, or at least 80%. I mean, I'd have to go to MUFON's ERT and the MIT study and the different and the free organization, everything to tell you, actual numbers. But all that data is out there. And I go back to OSAP being BASS being working group being since the 70s and 80s having an interest in abductees as one of their primary focuses. And you guys, I'm not just putting that out there. That you don't even need to dig very deep to figure that out. I do a lecture detailing that whole timeline of their interest. And you go, okay, this is of interest to them. That same group that they're number 2, or it wasn't even number 2, it tied for first place. Technology in that, in all those years. And then you go, and that birthed everything going on right now. Because you can tie it into the OSAP Bigelow connection and all that. And so, it's not a far reach to go, the same people have been involved, Right. You go into Gary Nolan and Kit Green and Hal and you go on and on and on.
Do they know? Okay. Do they know at an upper level who or what or why this is happening? Because we know that a lot of people in this subject, for lack of a better term, due to NDAs, have to play dumb on what they know and what they don't know.
And I get that. I mean, I get that. I get the process. I'm not being naive to that. But when these guys know the importance, and it's always been of high importance to them, when I say these guys, the guys bringing you disclosure, and even, you mentioned Jim Semivan before, himself an experiencer. You don't need to convince him how important it is. It's his interest, And so you go, okay. And then there's a lot of people out there suggesting some of these other names we're hearing in are also abductees. It's been kind of understood by a lot of researchers in the field. Anyone with a really profound interest in this subject, devoting their life and caring about it and getting emotional about it, whether they know it or not, have experiences. And guess what? Most of them and most of those insider types know that they have experiences. That's well understood. And certainly, some of the major abduction researchers have worked with some of these people. And so I'm sorry, I lost track of your question because I'm on a rant.
Go ahead.
Now, what was your question again?
Well,
remember?
Just in regards to, do they know? Is there somebody who knows truly what is going on?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny. Jim Semivan and I have had this discussion, and I think on a surface level, they may not know that much. And a lot of the current disclosure people are saying that. I get that, and there may be some truth. I mean, they know more than we think they do, but they may not know everything. But to the degree that there's the covert human involvement in abductions, those guys in the underground bases running those programs, or even above ground base, doesn't matter. But I'm saying that a lot are in underground. But those guys running those programs, they know. Because it's common for experiencers to see these covert human guys, covert military guys, with aliens. And so, grants, not all the experiences, but again, you're talking percentages, and it's a fairly high percentage. So, obviously, if they're involved with the ETs, at that point, you're read all the way in. So are some of these people read all the way in? I mean, you can have your NDAA and be read in at this level, like you witness, like you're a Kevin Day, Gary Voorhees witnessing an event. Don't talk about it. Okay, you witnessed something, and then you can be all the way up to somebody working with the ETs in an underground base and everything in between. There could be a lot of areas. And everyone who studies intelligence community stuff or covert programs, etc., you're only read in what you need to know. I've had a lot of guys involved in just basic engineering programs. I mean, even, I've had these discussions with Science Bob and many others like him, where just what you know, and you only get to know that. And so not everyone's read in at every level. When I was working with one of the working group guys, you can go everything from Jim Semivan and John Alexander and, et cetera, et cetera. I have a whole list. And if you've ever seen that presentation I list all those names. And some of them I know more about, and some of them I actually knew, and a few I was actually friends with. But one of the ones I was friends with explained the level of compartmentalization even within that group, and how they kept information from some of them. So some of the group know more than others. And he even was telling me who's read in further and who isn't. I felt that was a really profound moment to help me understand that just because you're in an ATIP, an OSAP, or a working group, or advanced theoretical physics working group.
Blue Diamond honey roasted almonds are my love language. Sweet, salty, irresistible. But the crunchy and tangy salt and vinegar also give me the feels. The choice is hard with flavors so good. Blue Diamond almonds, super flavor, all on a superfood.
Have a look around your home. Does your home feel you, or does it feel you 10 years ago? Maybe it's time to update your home with a fresh coat of Behr Premium Plus interior paint. Today, make your home feel more you. Behr, the most trusted brand. Ranked most trusted paint brand based on the 2022 Life Story Research Study.
Group or Bass or Bigelow or whatever, you only know the part they want you to know. You don't know all of it. But there are people who know a lot of it. You know, I'm thinking probably, Kit Green and Hal Puthoff probably are read pretty far in.
I was told by someone that is very close to start putting pressure on Gary Nolan. And Gary's studies out of out of Stanford University, are very detailed, very true with his studies of the brain and the body regarding ET and UFO abductions, that it's time for him to start going public with a lot of his findings. What do you think about Gary Nolan?
I'm so interested in what he has to say that not only have I been following a lot of recent interviews he's done, because he's constantly doing them, and he's made himself more available, which I greatly appreciate. But he is, I think, if I remember correctly, speaking at the SCU conference, the
Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies.
Coalition for UP, yeah. And I'm going to go to that conference. And a big part of why I'm going is I want to hear him. I think he knows a lot more, like a Lou and a Chris. You know, you're right. They have NDAs, or NDAs. I mean, you know what I mean. But they know a lot more than they can say, and they have their disclosure, their non-disclosure agreements. So, and so I think Gary probably knows a lot more, but I think they're all trying to say more as they're allowed to. And as these classified reports come out from the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, from the Pentagon, from the AOI MSG office, giving the information to DNI, and the DNI giving Congress and the Senate these classified reports, and already stuff was leaked, Stuff that probably came from the OSAP, and certainly a direct link to Kit Green in there, without doubt, and Gary Nolan, So, but these guys, again, I'm not saying they're read all the way in. Like Jim saying he wants to talk to me about my covert human experiences, and now I'm not giving any case data other than loose numbers, no specifics. Just, if you're a case of mine or someone who's talked to me is not getting anybody's names or anything like that. And he knows that. But as far as overall research, numbers, types of things happening, and then he wants to hear in detail about my experiences. Why does he want that? Because he said he used to be involved in Black Ops funding and procurement of money for that. And he says, I want to know who's paying for this and why. Where's the money coming from? And he doesn't understand that. He knows it exists. He knows about the SAPs and the USAPs, the Unacknowledged Special Access Programs. And he knows how some of that funding can work. But he said, I still don't know who this is, and if anything can be gleaned by my experiences, locations, bases, types of personnel, equipment use, whatever, that can help him follow that. That's what he tells me he's interested in. And people go, why would you trust him or whatever? Well, you guys, I'm left going, I want to know too. And the deal is, share with me what you find out. And so I can either stick my head in the sand and not progress forward, or I can say, okay, I choose to trust him. And thank God I'm friends with like Daniel Sheehan, because I've got constant help if anything ever got weird. And others, not just Danny, some others, not only some other lawyers, but some other highly placed people, So I have people I can go to and say, help, But at the same time, I've decided at this point I'm going to trust Jim. I'm already out there. I'm out there with my experiences. I don't care that he knows it. But if he can find anything out for me that helps me and helps other people with experiences, then that's worth it to me. And he wants to understand, where's that money come? How is that done? So he's not read in. Now he says he verified my involvement. He asks around some high level people, and that he has evidence for me to support, to show me regarding my involvement. And I don't know what that means, but I'm very interested in seeing that, of course, and but he said he asked around enough to know absolutely I've had those experiences, and he verified that, and he said, so I want to know everything about your experiences so he can understand who's doing it, why they're doing it, who's funding it, because it's outside of the purview of anything he was involved with. I admit, or so he says, but I'm choosing to believe him. And because, I'm one of those people, I'll work with someone and believe them until something comes up that tells me go the other direction, or if they're saying a bunch of things that doesn't match other research. But Jim has proven himself to be a reliable person thus far. And so I'll take that step further. Sure.
As we got about 4.5 minutes here to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour, Melinda Leslie is our guest. I'm curious, with the people you've talked to, the people who are in the know, where do you see the entire disclosure platform going? And we'll continue this into the next hour as well, but it's just kind of warm it up. I mean, there's so many different light switches to turn off and on, and it seems like everybody's talking about it. Nobody seems to have an answer. We know that politicians like Tim Burchett are getting really upset about what's going on. What the hell is going on here, Melinda?
Yeah, Burchett and Rubio, they keep saying stuff. They're demanding answers, and I may disagree. I don't care, but I don't mind putting this out there. I may disagree with them wholeheartedly politically, but they're out there saying this, and they're out there pursuing it and talking about it and bringing it up in interviews and press conferences and whatever. So is the head of NASA, Bill Nelson, and so you go, okay, this is. I never dreamt, and I'm sure Dave, you can relate to this. I never dreamt in my lifetime we'd get this far down the disclosure road. We're there, I'm constantly informing my clients as to everything that's unfolded and what's going on, and how far it's going to go, I don't know either, but it's certainly gone farther than I would expect it to, and it's gaining momentum, and with more and more of these, government officials, particularly senators and congressmen, saying, and the head of, the head of NASA, saying these rather remarkable things, flat out calling it extraterrestrial at this point. We're there. Can you think of 20 years ago, would we have even have dreamt of this going on right now? It's nuts, but yet here we are. And how far is it going to go? I'm like everyone else. I'm holding my breath. It's like, how far is it going to go? I think a lot of people in the field poo-poo it because they've been so jaded by the history. But it's like, no, these guys are really talking about this, and they're really pushing it. And it seems like they're demanding answers. So I think we're further down the road than a lot of people realize. Now, are we at the end? No. Carried the ball further down the field, but it ain't touched down time yet, But we're getting there. It's like, when's that going to happen? I don't know. It's moving along pretty fast. I go back to the To the Stars people saying some 7-year plan, and I go, we're 5 or 6 years into that plan. So what does that mean? We need to go out and ask those guys, where are we on the timeline now, and how much did COVID slow it down? Where are we now? But anyways, you said we need a break, but I just, we've gone further than I think than any of us have realized. And the statements being made now by these by our political leaders are telling. There seems to be emotion packed behind them, like they really do want to know and are really concerned. And, it could be COVID's dying down. Even Fauci is saying, it's just a SARS virus and it's pretty much gone in the U.S. I mean, he just recently said that a bunch of times. And then you have other countries where it's dying down, and you go, well, wait a second. Okay, that goes down. And then you have, I just heard a bunch of surprising things today about the Ukraine situation and Russia. And yeah, that's still going on, but Putin's trying to do some things that he's not accomplishing.
Yes.
Repeatedly and increasingly, and some energy and stuff. And he just did some major stuff, but those countries said, so what? We don't need you. And it's like, he doesn't have the footing that he thought he did. So my point being...
Melinda, hold that point. Hold that point. Because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Melinda Leslie. Yeah, we love her around here. She gives great hugs. So if you ever meet her, give her a big hug. You'll be very, very thankful you did. More UFO and ET talk, disclosure talk on Spaced Out Radio in Hour 2 next. All right, Melinda, we got 6 minutes. I'm going to be right back, okay?
Okay. I suppose I should look to see if anybody has questions in the comments.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing them now. Head on. Here, what I think I'll do is bring it up on my phone, although there'll probably be a delay. My phone's about to die. That's not going to be good. I need to plug this in. Hold on, everybody. Oh, goodness. I'm glad I saw that. I had it plugged in, but my plug didn't reach that far. Okay, so I won't use that. Glad I saw that. We shall go back to... Easiest way to look that up. I don't want to bonk myself out of there. Or there. There we go. And if I go into... Sorry, everybody, I don't mean to be boring the ants off you. Then... Okay, so I got a delay, but I'm going to try to ignore it. Okay, I'm looking to see... Okay, I'm looking to see... Somebody type something in the chat. Let's see if I can see it. Someone said, are all alien races harvesting? Someone said, are all alien races harvesting? God, I gotta be able to do away with that feedback on the sound. Somebody type in the chat how to do away with the sound on that so I can cancel that without canceling all my sound altogether. Type in the chat how to do away with the sound on that so I can cancel that without canceling all my sound altogether. Or take... Nope, that didn't work. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, that's not working. Dang it. How do we do this? Okay. Well, it sounds like Dave's coming back anyways. Dave?
Hello.
Is there an easy way to see the chat while I'm in here with you?
If you go up on the right-hand corner of StreamYard, you'll see where it says private chat right below that, the room chat.
It doesn't show me room chat.
What does it show you? Private chat.
Private chat and comments.
Comments, that's the one you want.
Oh, comments. Okay.
Hi, Grandpa Holland.
Ah, there we go. Okay, sorry, everybody. I'm sorry for being an idiot.
Lovely Laura
so
Sosa.
Now I can see. Now I can see the chats.
All right.
Because I was emptying it. I had a separate window, and I was getting echo because of the delay in hearing myself, and that wasn't going to work.
Well, we'll save the questions for when we come back because we're coming back in a minute here. Hi, Jonathan Davies. Good morning to you, buddy. Bama Animal, how are you this morning? How's that beard? Let us know. Blues and G Music. Good to see you. Chris Martin, thanks for coming on in. River Dogma, nice to have you here. And Lazarus Project, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. Navi Rose, welcome to SOR Chat. And let's see, who else is here? Margie O, looking lovely tonight. Who else is here that hopped on in?
Good night, Mr. Crowley.
Charlene Williams, good morning to you, and good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And
someone says you're not an idiot, you're fine. Thank you.
No, that was completely.
I didn't know how to bring up the chats in here, and the separate window was causing such a delay. I'm like, that's not going to work. I was
River. Hold on, Melinda. We're going to get going. Thank you to Ben, Gary, R&R, and Rob for the amazing super chats. Hi, gorgeous Lori Rosenfield. How are you? And River Dogma, your beard smells great. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clan has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Uberty. Uberty is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. 30-plus year researcher Melinda Leslie is with us on Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're going to take some audience questions as well this hour, if you're in our chat room on YouTube. And we are going to get into a lot about disclosure, UFOs, and the experiencers, and what it all means coming together as we look forward towards anything about this incredible subject. Melinda is based out of Sedona, Arizona. She has a UFO tour that she does at night there. Almost 1,600 tours she has done, and almost every one, somebody has seen an unidentified flying object. Melinda, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me. You know, everyone, please excuse out there my rant tonight. Like I said, I got kind of... you can hear me okay, right?
Oh, you're beautiful. You're sounding beautiful.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I can take the mic down a little, probably. But yeah, I just, And like I said, thank you to Bryce Zabel for putting out that funny video that he put out on.
I'm going to get you to raise your microphone up just a little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Okay. So put on Need to Know, and you can watch it, and it's a little colorful language, but it sure expressed how I've been feeling, and so I'm grateful for that. And and earlier, Dave, you asked, why do abductees matter? Why do the abductions matter? And I was saying, because it's the number one reason why the aliens are here. And without addressing, you're not addressing why they're here. And when I have, 9,500 clients, asking, or a huge percentage of those, probably 80% of them at least, asking, well, why are they here? That I know the people want to know, because that's a sampling of,
right.
Of the general populace, of the populace interested in this subject, and they want to know why they're here. And when you go, well, the pure statistical data, when you look at it, whether it's cattle mutilations and crop circles and them flying in and out of the ocean, and they're interested in bodies of water, and they're interested in nuclear technology, nuclear energy, nuclear weapon storage, all that, no matter what it is, none of the numbers compare, and
Blue Diamond honey roasted almonds are my love language. Sweet, salty, irresistible. But the crunchy and tangy salt and vinegar also give me the feels. The choice is hard with flavors so good. Blue Diamond almonds, super flavor, all on a superfood.
Take a look at your deck. The weather-worn wood, scuffs, and general neglect are all remnants of a previous owner. Well, this is your deck now. So let's turn it into a deck that truly feels yours with Behr Premium Stain, the #1 rated stain, according to a leading independent consumer publication.
And so right now, that seems to be the leading evidence, the leading statistical data to show why they're here and what they're doing here. And so if their interest is in, and I can tell you the covert human experiences, those guys are interested in us. Why would they spend, that's what Jim Semifan says, why are they spending all that money? The amount of money, time, and energy to run an operation like that.
That I don't know. Let's get to some audience questions here. And let us start off here with Jonathan in the UK, who's a very good friend of this show. And he is asking, have you been working with Dr. Bob McGuire, a.k.a. Science Bob? And can we look forward to seeing info on this soon?
Well, I'm not working with him per se. He's a dear friend. He may be in here watching. He's a very dear friend. And I can tell you this, I think in the not too distant future, we're going to be putting some cameras and equipment up in a really great, very high altitude location here in the Sedona area, actually right in the heart of Sedona. And I introduced him to a friend of mine that has like the perfect location, and that guy gave it his full blessings. And I didn't know this, but I just found out when I saw Bob in Vegas that he's been talking additionally to this gentleman, and they've planned to go forward with it. So we've got the approval on the location, everything, and Bob's just trying to get the right equipment and stuff. And so we'll have cameras and equipment filming stuff all the time. And, that technology that he was using before, that he's gone forward with, hopefully we'll catch some stuff on camera and get that equipment up. I don't know how soon that will be. I don't know if it will be this year. I got to talk to Bob about that. So that is one thing we're working on together, or he's really taken the ball and run with it. But it looks like that's going to happen. There was a problem with him and his wife and travel plans. They were actually supposed to come here right before Dave going to Vegas, and him and Sharon. So we'll see. How soon that comes together, and how soon that equipment would get up. It'd be really great if it happens before the year is through. And so that's the only project thing we're working on, I can say right there.
All right.
I mean, not that I can say that's the only thing that we're working on.
Right. Yeah. Let's go to Tia here. Melinda, how do they, as in the aliens, choose who gets to know about them?
I have no idea. No, I tell you this. What we know is at least in abductions, it runs in families. They're following a genetic lineage. It's very common for abductees to learn it happened to their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. You're an abductee, you have kids, it happens to them. You have grandkids, it happens to them. So this is well established now in the research. And so there's a genetic component. As far as, I think a lot of the information is up to the person remembering. Now, as far as why they're working with these covert guys, there's all sorts of backstories. I don't know which ones are true or not regarding, Eisenhower in agreement with the aliens and exchange of information and technology and blah, blah, blah. There's all these stories. Something about that's true because they're obviously working with them. And there seems to be an exchange and the production of technology and everything on that really deep. I mean, when people are read all the way into to that level of being involved with ETs. And so I can say, based upon what myself and hundreds of other people, I don't even know how many people have had this. I just know the people I've researched and the cases I've learned of, but the hundreds of cases that I know of and myself have seen that. So they're obviously, doing that. And like Jim says, he doesn't doubt it's going on. He's done enough digging to know it's happening. He just doesn't know how that got set up, how that level of intelligence, how that level of secrecy, how that funding, and he has questions because it's outside of the way it's supposed to work. Well, of course, the whole cover-up of this was outside of the way government is supposed to work. And getting back to the Burchett stuff, that's one thing he's really upset about, isn't he? He's saying, this is not how this is supposed to work. This isn't supposed to be kept from us. The Pentagon doesn't get to decide this. They have to respond to, the House and Senate. They're, they don't get to operate outside of that, and yet they clearly are. And when it comes to USAPs, who's approving that? Who's approving that money? Somebody is. Somewhere that money is getting allocated and approved. Jim wants to know. It sounds like, Burchett is, wanting to know, So I want to know. But at that level, they know these things, and so how they're getting to know that, well, they must be doing some trade or something with the ETs. The ETs are working with them too. So that relationship goes both ways. So, why are the ETs working with them? I don't know. As far as why the ETs are working with us, well, whether it's someone has the consciousness or the psi abilities to be able to do it. So I think it has a lot to do with people's, consciousness and psi and all that, not to get corny, but that does matter, and it is who we are. We are energy beings. And so, that may be why they're working with someone. And then obviously, like I said, they're following a genetic component. So if you're someone that has the genetics they're interested in, and, so I'm always going back to, well, what did the numbers say? What did the statistics say? And so those are the patterns that are there.
I want to ask you, before we go into any more audience questions, about Tim Burchett, the U.S. congressman who has gone all over media recently, absolutely ripping the Pentagon and the military and the alphabet agencies, a new one, about their lack of cooperation regarding releasing the information. And I was actually quite surprised when in one interview I heard of him, he's like, look, we need to go back to Roswell and see everything and know everything that has happened since then. But in the same breath, a couple of sentences later, he was asked a question about what does he know? And he says, I know a lot, but he wouldn't go into detail. He wouldn't tell what he knew or what he's been told, probably because he had to sign an NDA in order to find out. So this is a double-edged sword here. In one side of it, I mean, complete politician move. In one side of his voice, he's ripping them, saying the public has a right to know about what's happened from Roswell forward in every incident. But on the same breath, on the other side of his mouth, he's saying it ain't going to come from me.
Yeah, I watched. Again. Bryce and Ross have on Need to Know this video they just posted. I guess it was today, edited together of all these different quotes by him, and like 20 different things. And then I watched some longer ones on Witness Citizen and some other stuff where I saw some longer things, and I was taken back by the obvious dichotomy there. And yeah, him saying we have a right to know, the people have a right to know, they got to tell the people, there's no reason to sit on this, even the Bible says ETs are here and da-da-da-da-da, you know, and yet turning around and also saying, I wish I could tell you what I know, but I can't. It's like, dude, you're doing the same thing. And I hope he'll, you know, his family members and friends, when they watch those segments, because of course they will say, point out the obvious to him if he hasn't already realized and caught himself doing it. But, you know, therein lies the rub. That's the problem. And it's like, I get the NDAs, you know, whatever. National security becomes the reason for keeping it secret, but it's also the reason why they don't tell us, and it's the reason why, you know, so it's a never-ending circle. How do we get outside of that? You know, the laws change the out-of-control secrecy going on. You know, where do we go with that? Or it takes whistleblowers, people to go against that. You know, we have some of that, thank God. And I think we're going to have more. And maybe he'll eventually open up more, you know, as more of this comes out.
I mean, look, if he's speaking for the American public and the world public on this, because he also stated that this isn't a United States issue, this is a world issue. I mean, you got to open up, man. You can't just sit there and be moronic and one-sided about it. And, you know, I'm going to get more into this in the Thought of the Dave, Dave 101 tonight.
I agree. I mean, look, I'm not in their shoes. I'm sure this has got to be tough, and they probably have legalities and stuff, and, you know, but at the same time, the dam's got to break. And we just got the first 90-day classified report, and parts of that leaked. And every 90 days, there's going to be another report. And once or twice a year, I think it's twice a year, isn't it, a public report? And so it's like, as that starts happening, I expect these people to open up more and more. Look at like, you know, Chris and Lou and how much more they're saying. You know, with each thing that goes on, these guys say more. They say more as they feel okay, and that, you know. And so maybe eventually that dam will break and someone will say, oh, screw it, so much has come out, so much from the reports, it's time to just talk about it. And they'll actually start saying what they were briefed on. Maybe that will happen. And those guys, you know, meaning congressmen and senators, you know, but I think you're going to have more and more people involved in projects coming forward, military witnesses coming forward. I'm hearing from people. I'm hearing from people that are considering going public, and I'm encouraging them, you know. I mean, that's a personal decision for someone to make if it's a military witness, but it's like, okay, what's holding you back? You know, is it fears of what other people think and fear of ridicule and blah, 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 or fear of losing your job? Or is it an actual legality, you know, because you got to weigh that out for yourself. So I'm not telling people to break the law, but a lot of times maybe there really isn't a law. I mean, you know, Daniel Sheen meets with these guys and say there's no laws, you know, and if something is unconstitutional and you were asked to do something unconstitutional, then you have a responsibility to actually come out and talk about it. I mean, so anyone out there, if you're a military witness and you're hesitant, you're scared or whatever, contact me, I'll put you, or Dave, and we'll put you in touch with Daniel Sheehan, who will talk to you and give you all the legal parameters that you'll realize you can do this. You can absolutely do it. And I think we're going to see that tide change. We're,
Yeah. I really
that,
hope
as
so.
Lou's coming out with more, and and I think the floodgates are going to open. I think these congressmen and senators. I mean, okay, you guys know I do readings every day. I'm also psychic. What I'm reading on this is it's unraveling like a ball of yarn, and it keeps just unraveling, and there's just going to be more and more and more. I think the tide changed. We're going down that road. I don't think there's turning back now. And when other congressmen and senators see Burchett speaking or any of these guys, Gallego speaking, or even the head of NASA speaking, or even, a scientist here, Avi Loeb and other scientists and the guys from SCU and others talking, I think you're just going to have this more and more people coming forward, more and more people in the science community, the aerospace community, government, Senate, Congress, whistleblowers, military witnesses. I think it's just going to steamroll. I mean, already, if you look at the past 5 years, it's just gone, it's just, and then and then there's an exponential, you get that 100th monkey thing and it just goes bam, well, and I think we're going there. I think it's going to speed it all up faster than people realize. And I think there's an energy behind it. The truth will out.
Well, we got 4 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, and we are with Melinda Leslie tonight. I mean, we could both get very angry on this subject, and I'm going to get more into, in hour 3, into the Tim Burchett news here on the Dave 101 later on. But let's go to Marty's question here. Melinda, what's the percentage of negative versus positive ET experiences?
I have no idea. It depends on the person and their view of their experience. Some people, initial recall is something very traumatic, and then later realize, it wasn't really that traumatic. That was more my reaction to it. Did the ETs actually harm you? I'm not saying that some people haven't had that, but luckily it is an overall small percentage amongst cases. And so, no, there's no way to know that. We don't have enough data. We can't say it's all good, it's all bad, it's all this. And anyone who does, you have to turn to them and say, based on what data? Now, if they can give you hardcore statistics, if they're a research organization and you're talking to someone, from the organization Free, or something, and they go, well, the statistics say, or the MUFON ERT team or something. But otherwise, it's like, people need to stop speaking out of their, pardon my expression, speak out of their ass, I mean, because it's like, what is, yeah. Is that okay?
I'm fine with that one.
I'm always wondering how much I can say on our show that also goes on the radio. But look, it's apparently on YouTube you can say a lot, because if you watch that thing, like I said, that Bryce Staple put up, it's like, all the bombs are flying in that one, man. But yeah, there's no way to know. I mean, there's no way to know, and if you start to educate yourself about the subject, you'll see there's such a huge variety of experiences. And then all we know is the way people relate to their experiences. It doesn't say the truth about that experience. So all you know is the way someone reacted to it. Does that mean it was good or bad? And yeah, I mean, because, I always say, like, you can be taken by a dentist in the middle of the night and get a new set of teeth, and it could be a really frightening experience against your will, and oh my God, but did they help you? And what the hybrid thing is, the human race is dying out and we need their DNA to survive. I'm not saying that's it, but I'm just throwing that as a what if, And so, but we don't know those answers. So for anyone to say, oh, I know the answer, it's all good, it's all bad, it's this percentage, that percentage, based on what data? Go back to the data. Go back to the evidence. I know it's boring, but particularly now in this era of disclosure. And if ufology wants to survive and be respected in its research, it needs to go to the evidence and the data. But there is evidence and data for abductions. There's incredible physical evidence. You know, Dave, I talked to you about starting up this group to protect the rights of contactees. And I've already talked to some key researchers, the head of the various abduction research organizations. And I had a dream team of people I went to. I went to my first string of people on the dream team, and everybody said, absolutely yes, hell yes, count me in. I didn't have anyone say, no, I don't have time, I can't, I don't like what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. Not. If anything, they all then offered up a bunch and said, not only do I think we should do this, blah, 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 blah. And it involves 3 lawyers and the heads of the major abduction research organizations. Wow. And everybody said, count me in. But I also realized, and I'm starting to think more and more, like just even this last week, I'm thinking about this more and more. One of the things we need to do besides like media outreach and media talking points and have that on a website so the media has a place to go for the facts on contact and the statistics. But one of those things is the science, the evidence. And I already had that, like it's got to have the best evidence listed on it. But, okay, yeah, I see you saying wrap up.
Yeah, Melinda, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We got Melinda Leslie for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. She is so filled with information. 2 hours is definitely not enough, but we're going to continue on with Melinda, your questions on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to come back to is because I realize we got to address the science.
Absolutely.
Absolutely must.
Hi, all things
and the
UFO.
The science for contact abductions, because you guys, there's for anyone to say, oh, we don't, downplay it, because we are getting downplayed. That's what's going to make my head explode this week. It's like the abduction subjects being negated, downplayed, excused, pushed away. Don't address it. Don't talk about it. And I'm like, we don't want to backslide. Not with all. And not when it's why they're here, and not when it's got such tremendous evidence in support of it. The amount of physical evidence, the amount of witness evidence is extensive. And it's like, and then these people are traumatized. I'm not saying they're bad. For anyone says, she can say they're bad. You could have a traumatic reaction to your child getting married or having childbirth even is trauma, right? So people are experiencing trauma and deep psychological processes to come to terms with their experiences. You know how many people I know that have gotten divorced over this and have had to fight for custody of their kids because they dare say they're an abductee? I know a medical doctor who lost his license, and other people that have lost jobs or were afraid of anyone finding out. The fear of ridicule is still palatable, and it's like, gosh, you guys, we don't need it to backslide where anyone who has had an experience, climbs back into the closet, And it's like, and everyone's going, oh, well, it's okay. We don't need to.
Blue Diamond Honey Roasted Almonds are my love language. Sweet, salty, irresistible. But the crunchy and tangy salt and vinegar also give me the feels. The choice is hard with flavors so good. Blue Diamond Almonds. Super flavor, all on a superfood.
Hey, C-Spire Country. Who's ready to do a little speeding? Because with our blazing fast nationwide 5G powering phones and supercharging your scrolling and streaming, Slow left these parts a long time ago. Now the best network anywhere is actually right here. So welcome to C-Spire Country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps faster.
Moms, treat yourself to the best 5G smartphones on us with trade-in on any Everybody deal plan. 5G not available in all areas. Capable device required. See cspire.com for details.
Be a part of this disclosure stuff. Well, wait a second, you guys. Not when I have 9,500 clients saying, why are they here? And the biggest piece of evidence for why they're here is the contact and the personal experience with people. You know, it's like, don't negate that. And then those people have rights, and they don't deserve to have their livelihood taken away from them, their relationships end, custody of their children end. You know, they don't deserve to risk losing a job. You know, and if anything, those people should be sought out. Like the covert guys are saying, "Why is this happening to you? What's happening to you?" I mean, they're paying time, money, and energy on these people. I need the rest of ufology to give a flying, you know what? And I need the disclosure community to care, especially when that came out of a group of people whose second primary objective was abductions. And now they're saying, well, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about. Well, you guys sure talked about it for 40 years. And you published and you have research papers on it. You know, so many abduction researchers recite the Roper poll that was done with 3,700,000 people. The Roper poll come back saying we're abductees. That was paid for by Bigelow Bass OSAP. That's where that came from. And the major UFO abduction researchers gave the questions to add on, but the funding of that and how the Roper poll included it was Bigelow paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that data went to them. And, you know, these folks need to admit that they've had this serious interest in it and not negate it and not put it on the back burner when people end up suffering psychologically because it's pushed away and everyone says, oh, there's nothing to that abduction stuff. And I have heard comments just even this past week leaning that direction.
Oh, I hear you.
And it's like, you know, anyways, there we go. I feel better.
No problem.
But, you know, and so because of this, you know, a year ago I went to Dan Shee and said, I want to do something for legal help for these people. What do you think? And will you at least consult me on it? And he said, not only will I consult you, I'll be involved with you in it. And then it grew from there. And he said, who else do you want involved? And I contacted these other people. And they all said, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to get you to hold on. I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're coming back in a few seconds here. Thank you to Ben, Gary, R&R, and Rob for the super chats tonight. Here we go, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we have Melinda Leslie here, and she is answering your questions regarding UFOs, extraterrestrials, contact, disclosure.
There we go.
Melinda, we're going to start off with a question from Low Pro here. Have you ever experimented with infrared cameras or other types of filters?
Well, first off, you know, my tours were using the night vision goggles, which are, infrared. And so you see 50,000 times more stars you can see with your naked eye. And, and that allows us to see those things that are really high up. I admittedly am not doing a bunch of filming. I don't have the equipment to it. I'm too caught up with my clients. Anyone out there who's my client, I'm sorry, but my clients as a whole are very needy and require my time and attention and certain storytelling and the information sharing and stuff. So I'm so caught up. Anyone who's done my tour goes, yeah, we get it. You wouldn't build a film. But I encourage other people to come and do that. Now, having had said that, so we're not doing a lot with cameras. Okay, just there isn't the time, place, energy, wherewithal to do so. But in my working with Bob McGuire and what he has planned to do to set up some equipment here, I believe it will also have that capability. I have to ask him about that. But my understanding is it'll have a variety of ways of gathering stuff. And I think infrared is also one of them. Do you remember that about his equipment, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Is it also involved infrared?
He's all over the place with his equipment.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think it does. I think it does. So then we will.
All right, let's get to Jonathan here. Will Jim Semivan step up now and replace Lou Elizondo when he steps away from the light? I heard Jim was originally the person to front things. Not sure why he did not.
Jim hated attention, didn't want it, wasn't looking to be a public figure. He wanted to see this happen, played his role in creating it, and did not want to be a public person, but enough persistence, and I know that's from Dr. Davies. Thank you. And so he's stepped up now. I think I haven't really even talked to him about it all, but my guess is because of constant requests to do so, and him realizing it didn't make any sense anymore not to. So he's being very selective and choosing and picking and choosing, as requests come into him. I'm going to state here, and what I get psychically is Lou's not completely stepping away. I get it. He caught a lot of flack and is. And if that kind of subsides, or if there's legal action regarding that, but regardless, I think I don't expect Lou to be fully stepping away. He might be a little more quiet for a while, but no, Lou's not stepping away. I don't get that at all. I think his heart is in this,
From what Lou said on our show a week ago, he feels he can accomplish a lot more work in the background as of right now. And with that being said, he believes that Sean Cahill will be the one who takes over that public eye. But he also stated that within the next 6 months, we should expect some other people to come forward who we've never heard of before as both experiencers and in the know of what's happening in Washington, D.C. So other Lou's that are coming through. So
there you go. And step away for a while doesn't mean purposefully, or permanently out of the public eye. It could just be a strategic move based upon having the time and energy to do what he needs to do, and encouraging others to come forward, like you just said. So I'd say take that to the bank. That sounds right.
I agree with you.
I'm sure that. Yeah,
I agree with you on that. River Dogma is wondering, what is the map behind you?
Oh, it's a big map of Sedona. Let me see if I can do this. Do 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 do. I feel like I need music for this. Do 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 do. It's always the opposite of what I think. Okay, there we go. It's a big map of Sedona. There's the key on it. It's in disarray because my office got flooded and everything got moved out, and they had to redo the walls from 3 feet down because of damage and a new floor and all this stuff. And I'm just now kind of getting moved back in. And so that map is a map of Sedona with a bunch of pins and stuff in it, marking the major vortex locations, the major sighting locations, et cetera, and it was a labor of love many, many years ago. It's in damage now, but I'm going to have a friend who's a carpenter make a frame for it and redo the pictures. But it marks all the major sighting event locations, the vortex locations, where other major paranormal events have happened. Let me see what my key here says. Vortex locations, UFO hotspots, areas of frequent sightings, significant sightings with witnesses, photos, or video, alien encounters like contacts, abduction encounter marked with different pins, haunted locations with ghosts or spirit activity, places with a lot of orb activity, paranormal or spiritual events that are not ET or ghost related. And of course, also Black Ops military encounters, because people hiking out in our canyons get stopped by guys all in black with Kevlar vests and combat boots. We do have an underground military base out here, and probably if one of the entrances or something is going on, they'll stop you and say, turn around, you've entered a restricted area. And so people have those encounters, as well as a lot of black helicopter encounters. Gosh, I've had just this last week a couple new major cases come forward of people with covert stuff, like I'd already said, Dave, military witnesses, some really rock solid people that I'm encouraging to be public or come forward. We'll see what happens with that. One guy in particular has extensive stuff and extensive evidence. I'll go ahead and go public with this. I can. This guy came forward and had a covert human involvement experience, has alien abductions, has had a lot of the MILAB, MIL for military, AB for abduction, just meaning covert human, which can be military or other covert agencies, but involvement. And but he was having them show up in his environment, in his home. He lived in the UK for a number of years. He had it happen there, and also here in the US. When a period of time when he was having a lot of it happen in the UK, he set up a bunch of motion activated cameras. And one night he had an experience, and he caught what we think is the result of what's called a jump room, a portal. It doesn't even matter what's causing it, but some kind of portal displacing a section of his wall. And he had an outside motion activated camera, but in a protective box kind of thing. And it actually had been recently knocked over, so it was like laying on the ground, but it caught this going on. And he wondered if the camera caught anything, and so he took the chip out of the camera, the little, whatever, recording chip or whatever, and ended up putting it in his computer, looking at it, and sure enough, it caught something. But he said it was just weird. It was like a bunch of the wall was in focus. There was a window frame and part of a door in the roof line. He says it's all in focus, but there was this one part where something weird was going on. So he takes that, hides it somewhere in his bedroom, not that hidden, but, in a little drawer. The next night, these guys show up. He has realtors coming to look at his place that day. He took down, he had a showing. His house was for sale. He had a showing. And so he didn't want, during the showing for people to go, what are all these cameras, and is there a security problem? Because, that's not good for selling a house, obviously. And so he took the cameras down. At the last minute, he remembered one in the hallway outside of his bedroom, and he had taken it down and thrown it under his bed. He thought he turned it off. Well, lucky for us, he didn't turn it off. So, motion-activated camera under his big master bed. A guy shows up in his room, and the camera films just from under the bed, so it's getting the guy from like the knees down. Films a guy in his room. My client is completely asleep, does not know this is going on. They're so brazen, they actually turn on the lights in his room. And his camera is filming. He has a fireplace in his room, but one of those with glass, where the glass is like flush with the wall. You see the reflection of this guy in the glass go up to this little box, take the chip out. He's searching through a couple of these little drawers, goes through these little drawers, takes it out, puts it in his pocket. And this is seen in the reflection because the camera from under the bed is filming the glass of the front of the fireplace on the wall. But then you see in real time from the knees down, the guy moving around. And he went to the police with it. And the police said, was there any damage to your front door? Blah, blah, blah. And of course, he had to say no, and because there was no damage and break-in, and yet this is clear as day. So the police said, "Look, someone's in your environment, but it would have to happen again, and we'd have to catch them in the act. And all we can do is have your home under surveillance for a couple of days," which they did. He says they did. They would come around at night and patrol the street and stuff, but he said they didn't come back. But I mean, I have this case of this guy filming with this camera from under his bed, and it's solid evidence of a guy in his room taking out that chip from that camera. So my guess is he filmed some kind of technology being used the night before, and that they knew that. And he at first said, I hadn't told anyone, and then he remembered he has grown kids, and he has his sister. And he said, I talked to my daughter, my grown daughter is there twice, and I think to my sister, and he said, it's very possible I told one of them. And he also had evidence that his phones were being monitored. So if his phones were being monitored, I said, well, if you talk to your sister or your daughter about that chip and removing out the camera and seeing what was on it, and that you put it in your bed, then they knew to go look in those drawers next to your bed. So I said, that's not a big mystery. But he caught them coming back just for the chip. And that tells me that chip probably had evidence of some technology on it, or the effects from that technology, because they specifically couldn't have that out there. They came for that chip piece. But he caught them on camera. I have another guy who had not a motion activated, but a voice activated tape recorder, and caught the guys. And I told this new case about this, and I played this other guy's stuff for him and blew his mind, because I've had this thing for years where this guy kept recording these guys coming into his environment, and you can hear these guys talking to them. And that client of mine says, he's saying to them, leave me the bleep alone, leave my computer, because they're messing with his computer, leave my computer alone. And you can tell he's drugged and half out of it. And the military guy, well, I don't know if he's military, but the covert guy in there actually turns to him and says, hey, this is a lot of work. And actually says that to him. And other things. And it's two guys talking in the environment while they're going through his stuff. And yet this case study of mine is like, it sounds like he's drugged out of it. And it's a remark, and he has multiples of these. He recorded these guys multiple times. And so this new case, when I said, hey, here's some guys in somebody else's environment that someone else got with voice activation. And then this guy looks at that, and he was so validated. I mean, like, oh my God, somebody else has had this happen. I said, yeah, these are the only two people that recorded the guys in their environment, but at least they did that. Motion activated camera, and the other's a voice activated tape recorder. But anyway, so it's just remarkable evidence. Next time I do a presentation, I'm going to play one of the guys' voice-activated pieces, one of the clearest ones, because some of them I played for people. There's other background noise and stuff, but there's one that's very, very clear. The one where they're also messing with his computer, and then show also the video of this guy. It's remarkable evidence of these guys having these guys, and that's one thing I will, share with Jim. I mean, I haven't, but I will, because I'll say, Jim, here's some real evidence for this going on. But Jim said he looked into it, and he said, look, I know it's going on. I just don't know how. I just don't know how it's happening.
Let's get to a couple more questions from our audience, because we only got just under 9 minutes. All Things UFO was asking, what does the data say about telepathy and the cosmic Wi-Fi?
Well, first off, I'm not sure what they mean. I mean, as far as telepathy, that's how you communicate with the ETs, and the covert guys know that. So that's, what else can I say? Obviously, they know that, and they're looking for people. You go to the book, what's it called? Above Black. God, I hate it when I'm this tired and I forget people's names. You know what book I'm talking about, Dave, and the guy who wrote it. I'll think of his name in a second, but. And he, in that book, he talked about being recruited and used to communicate with ETs. That goes back into the Dan Bursch and some even the viewer guys used to communicate with them. So you go into, okay, these guys have been, some guys have been recruited to communicate with ETs, and that communication is with telepathy. So see now when those things I'm talking about, you're talking a more surface level military. So wait a second. Surface level military knows, again, it's not like, oh, everything's this black and everything's like this. It's all these layers of gray. So in the middle somewhere are people being recruited into those programs, and those seemingly are part of regular covert, regular black ops, not even the work with ETs, So where's the dividing lines here? I don't know those answers. And Jim doesn't either. That's why he's asking, But anyways, that's how the ETs communicate, so that's well understood. It appears in the covert world that's understood, and certainly it's understood in abduction research.
Let's get to Michael. Why did I see 23rd century technology flying over my house?
How do you know it's 23rd century tech? How would you know that? I mean, you kind of go, is it anything we have, or is it demonstrating a new physics or whatever and suggested, therefore it's probably not something we have. And that's kind of what you're left with. That's kind of the big question, all the disclosure stuff. But I mean, that is the question these guys are asking. So, but I can tell you, we've seen fully structured craft 60 times on my tour. And a couple of those have been great big craft hovering right on top of us. No joke. And I had witnesses. I mean, it's not like me and one or two people. I mean, some of those experiences had 5, 10, 15 people, and some of them even had 40, 50 people at them. And yet we were seeing things that close.
D. Cohen would like to know, do they abduct people from urban areas? If so, is it reported? If reported, is it investigated?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's well established in abduction research. It's all over the world. It's all, throughout the U.S. It's every kind of environment.
At Omni Hotels and Resorts, discover endless ways to enjoy your summer. Hike, bike, dine, zipline, and more at over 50 city and resort destinations coast to coast. Explore all we have to offer and book now at omnihotels.com/summer.
Take care of your property with equipment you can count on, like the Kubota VX and LO1 Series compact tractors, part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup, rated #1 for reliability, and Z-Series mowers and Sidekick utility vehicles, where durability meets speed. Visit your local Kubota dealer for a demo today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit GoKubota.com for a dealer near you.
People are being taken from cars, hotels, homes, apartments, tall apartment complex units, houses in the middle of nowhere, ranches, you name it. I mean, there's every environment is accounted for in some abduction research case. And some of these are extremely well investigated case. I mean, you go back to like Whitley Strieber, who had stuff out of his high-rise apartment in New York just as much as he did as a cabin in the upstate New York woods. He had it in both places repeatedly. I've been taken from a hotel on the beach. I've been taken from an apartment complex multiple times. I've been taken from the car driving through a city, and the car in the middle of nowhere, and a car on a mountain road. Those are all true statements, by the way. So yeah, and some of these are extremely well investigated cases.
Nikki would like to know, how old were you during your first abduction, or the first abduction you remember?
I found out about my experiences in 1989. So that was the beginning of my discovery process. And it was a trip to Area 51 and having a bunch of sightings. That was like inserting a key and turning it. I started to have memories come forward, which started me on a long investigation process that I've been on for 32 years. Okay. That involved recalling past childhood experiences, looking at some past childhood experiences that actually had evidence, and also getting some regressions for some of those. So I think the first one that I've recalled so far, in combination, a bunch of stuff with my family when I was young, combined with conscious and regression memory, was I was 5 years old. So that's the first one I know about as of right now. Is there evidence or any information to suggest maybe it happened younger? Yeah, but there's specifically a 5-year-old event, so I can say for sure that. So first one, 5 years old, and my last one was 4 years ago. There you go. Last one I'm aware of, 4 years ago, and the first one I'm aware of, 5 years old.
We only have about 2.5 minutes left with you tonight, Melinda, and we could go another 6 hours
Wow.
and not even scratch the surface. But for the people out there listening, how do they stay vigilant, in your opinion, about keeping pressure on the politicians fighting for disclosure?
Vote accordingly, duh. Call them, write them. Sure. There were some good programs done by various people in the past to write, your elected officials. I still think that's good. They do look at those. Those are read, and if they get a bunch of them, it flags them. I mean, that's one of the reasons you have Tim. I think it's probably, I think it's probably on us on his part, as far as at least I'd like to think that Tim Bruchette is saying that people care. My constituencies care. They're asking me about this. So he's probably getting the phone calls, the emails, the whatever, the letters. So that's what you do. You keep up on it. You keep up on all that. And you let them know that you're following it and you're concerned, and you show up at events where they're speaking and ask them questions, make them answer stuff. If any media is listening, you get a chance to talk to them, go to DC, hang out on the steps and catch them like other people have done. I mean, ask all of them, write them, email them, protest, approach them, get in their face about it. Don't be rude. Yeah, you got to, you got to be professional. You got to be courteous and professional. You're going to do a better job and be more effective that way.
And with 1 minute,
but that's what you do.
And with 1 minute to go, tell us where everyone can find your UFO tours.
UFO sign tours, I do them through the Center for the New Age here in Sedona. So you can contact the Center for the New Age, or you can go to, UFO sighting tours with an S on the end, UFOsightingtours.com. And so there you go. And the Center for New Age or UFOsightingtours.com. And that's how you can find me, reach me. And I'm on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook and Twitter, and can be found that way. Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Patience, I get overwhelmed with requests on messengers and emails. Don't email me. Don't email me. That's the worst way. So Facebook is a good way. Twitter is a good way. Private message me. DM me on Twitter, etc. That's a good way to reach me. And people say it's hard to reach you, but try a couple times and I respond.
Melinda Leslie, everyone, on Spaced Out Radio. Melinda, much love from me to you. Absolutely love you, my dear.
Thank you for having me on.
Coming up next.
Thank you for everybody for letting me stand on my soapbox and rant tonight. But I was worked up but it keeps me active, keeps me...
Absolutely. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio. Sorry about that. I had to go to commercial break.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, I get it. Sometimes I forget you're running a radio show and there's parameters. And I know that. I know there is. Whatever.
I will let you talk to my audience here for a few minutes. And I'm going to step away for a couple seconds, and then I'll come and say goodbye to you.
Yeah, sure. Anybody out there got a question now that I can see the comments? What I meant to say, and I can say to you guys anyways, is I meant to come back from one of the groups and one of the breaks, and say that I want that group, which has a working title, the CRC, Contact Rights Coalition, and a lot of people involved liked that name, so that may be the name, we'll see. But the Contact Rights Coalition, to also have it be about the science for abductions and see if we can get some of the scientists and people involved. And so I kind of think, let's do that too. We're not an abduction research organization. We're not replacing any of the major organizations, which is why I have the heads of all those as part of this. The heads of those organizations are representing those organizations. And this is just like, look, if we need to address anything legally or be proactive about people's rights and freedoms, that we can be proactive about that. And it's supposed to reactive. Well, let's not wait till something happens and how do we address it. Let's have some guidelines for how do we want to address these things should they come up. And hopefully we're never needed, Hopefully it'll never be needed. But already the media is asking questions. And so I think if the community has some guidelines that we all kind of agree to for how to address this subject with the media, and get those who are already getting the media attention when asked this to consider some of these things, like the top 10 pieces of evidence, the top 10 statistical pieces of data, the facts, the science behind it, the history of it, and kind of get everyone on the same page so we have kind of a united front for how does the contact community respond in this disclosure process, and how can we be proactive to make sure contact is included in the discussion. I mean, you guys, it's why the ETs are here. It's just, like I said, sometimes I just want to set my head on fire and go running down the street. I'm just like, oh my God. Okay, I said I'd look at questions I've been yammering on, so now I'm going to look. Oh, no. Someone says the MIB is knocking shit over. No, in my office, I did that. Something fell off my table and landed on the floor and hit something else, but nothing broke. It looks like it just fell over. But something on my computer table is, my office was flooded and I'm moving back in and I have a bunch of stuff piled on the table. And so every time I move it, anyways, something fell off. Okay. Any incidents with giants? No, not a giant's of Petra. No, not that I'm aware of. Oh, by the way, you guys, there is a fun new documentary out about Bradshaw Ranch, which is, move over Skinwalker. We have Bradshaw Ranch here in Sedona. So when you have like Starlight Ranch and Rainbow Ranch and Skinwalker we have Bradshaw here, and it's known for a lot of paranormal activity and UFO activity and Bigfoot activity. And a friend of mine who goes by the nickname Hoodoo Tall, Dave's talked about him. Dave's had him on. So he's a friend of Dave's and mine, and he did a great, if you guys haven't watched it already, it's very long, it's 3 hours, but it's extremely entertaining. And I they had me in it just for fun. It turned out really good. Oh, Dave, I'm talking about Hoodoo Tall.
Oh, yeah.
So it's HOODOTALL, and it's all about Bradshaw Ranch, and they did a great job. I'm honored to be in it. I didn't know it was going to turn out that good, and I'm so happy. It's very good.
Hi, Amy Vegas. Oh, Melinda, I have to say goodnight to you because I got to get ready here. Come back here in about a minute. But thank you so much, my dear. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Are you going to be Are you going to be in Denver for the MUFON Symposium?
Probably. I think this is going to be the year I'm involved in a lot of conferences. I think as of right now, my plan is, I haven't bought tickets for any of them yet, but I need to. My plan is to go to the SCU conference, which is the first week of June.
Yes.
And then right, a month later, go to the MUFON 75th. I'm not MUFON, I'm sorry, Roswell 75th. Roswell, New Mexico 75th anniversary. And then, hang on, my computer's doing something weird.
Well,
stop.
We'll talk. Okay. We'll talk soon about
it. And then, so also go to, SCU, MUFON, Roswell, then MUFON, and then in September, International Congress, if it happens in person in Phoenix. So I plan on attending all 4 of those. And Roswell and MUFON are back to back, but I think I'm going to go to both. I really do. So that's my plan right now.
All right. Melinda, I got to run here, but much love to you, my dear.
Yes.
And we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, thank you. And thank you, everybody. Sorry I wasn't reading the chat. I'm not used to doing
That's
that.
okay.
Why I'm doing this. So I apologize to everyone for
Good night,
missing your questions.
good night, Melinda.
I'll go in the chat. Maybe I'll try to answer them. Maybe
Okay.
I'll try to go in and
There you
play
go.
for a little while.
I gotta go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Uberty. Uberty is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It's going to be a short but sweet one tonight as we head into the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is here for another spooky story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. This story comes from my uncle and my grandfather originally. It has been retold to us so many times as kids growing up that I can repeat it verbatim. So please, understand that they are not the type of people to lie or make up a fictional story to tell. To my knowledge, this is 100% true, and I've retold it to the best of my knowledge as accurately as possible. My grandfather was the owner and operator of a tugboat company that ran barges up and down rivers all over Louisiana, the Mississippi River included, and on occasion, they would even be as far north as the Ohio River. My uncles have told me stories of them sweating in Louisiana and then breaking ice on the Mississippi River during their work stint with their boat. Later, the company was sold to a giant corporation and my grandfather's small fleet of 3 tugboats. However, many memories and stories remain from their time operating. These stories are still being carried down from my mother and her siblings, who all worked as a part of the company at some point in their life. For context, sometime around 1975 in Louisiana, my uncle, who was about 20 at the time, and my grandfather had boarded one of their boats one day to get in some extra work. Although the company employed many other employees in addition to my family who worked it, my uncle and grandfather were the only ones on the boat that day, as this wasn't typically a scheduled workday. It was something that they could handle on their own. After the day of work, as night fell, they had a dinner prepared in the galley, to which my uncle went and ate. He then returned to the bridge where my grandfather was operating the boat. After a short time, my uncle looked over the ship's side, where he noticed a man. He saw the man with a long, scraggly white beard and long hair raking what appeared to be leftover food into the river. My uncle quickly looked over at my grandfather and said, "I thought we were the only ones on the boat tonight." My grandfather responded, "We are, son. Why?" My uncle then said, "Well, who's the man down there?" My grandfather quickly got up to go look, and the man was gone. In a rush, they checked the entire boat. Every compartment, every nook and cranny. They were indeed the only ones on that ship. They returned to the bridge, to which my grandfather asked my uncle to describe the man he saw. My uncle told him he had a long white beard, long hair, raking food into the river. My grandfather was taken aback as he quickly realized what it must have been. This was their newest boat, and he had bought it a few years before. It was for a reasonable price. However, the ship did come with a story. Several years before my grandfather purchased it, a man was killed on this boat and fixed it up. He never told anyone else this story, as he thought nothing of it and didn't want them to worry about buying a boat involved in such an accident. As my grandfather's story goes, a man was working on this particular boat on a day when it was about to collide with a barge. In their attempt to stop the two vessels from crashing, a man fell between them and was crushed as they hit. The reason my grandfather was taken aback? The man my uncle described fit the exact description of the man that was destroyed on the boat just a few years prior. Over the next 10 to 15 years, this boat was in operation for my grandfather's company. It came to be known for being haunted, as this was not the last experience anyone had on that boat, nor the last time the man with the long white beard would be seen.
Wow, freaky as ever. The Swamp Dweller, we love him around here as he comes in each and every night with another great story here on Spaced Out Radio. And you can find him on YouTube. Swamp Dweller Reads. He's got 262,000 subscribers and always padding the stats with more. Swamp Dweller, once again, we'll hear from him on the next show as well. Speaking of getting things going, there he is. The man, the myth, the legend. We call him Super Duke around here. Duke. All right, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube is here for another cryptid story. How you doing there, Super Duke?
I am all worn out. I was on with Tex and BMR on the old Brunch with Bigfoot show 13 plus hours ago. And I was on there for 2 hours, and then I was busy running around doing things all day long. And now I'm back to regale you with more tales of creepy and terrifying true things that are happening. And update on the Kreider expedition. Robert Kreider just posted on his channel about an hour ago that they're back. Apparently everybody is intact, and I haven't had time to look into it to find out what's going on beyond that. So if you guys want to, check out his channel. Since the last time I was on, one of my friends who works as a FedEx driver had an interesting experience where it was mid-afternoon. He was driving along out in the country going from point A to point B to drop off a package, and there was a one-lane dirt road that diverged off the main road that he was on. And as he was going past, he glanced over and looked at it, and down the dirt road in the wood line, going from one wood line to another across the little dirt road, was a 7-foot dog man. And he saw it plain as day. And he said it was in a position where its arms were like a praying mantis. And since he was just going by at the right moment, of course, the movement and the noise attracted its attention, even though it was quite a ways away, and it just turned and looked. And then it kept walking and went into the other wood line. So that kind of freaked him out a whole lot. And this is somebody who is used to experiences with cryptids and stuff. And he's like, I've never seen a dog man before. That was so freaky. This is over in the Carolinas. And let's see what else. Any other news updates I can think of? Not right off the top of my head. Shall we talk about more weird stuff in the Solomon Islands? That one place you're never going to go on vacation days?
Yeah, the giants and the sharks and the monsters and...
Don't forget about the bone-crushing crocodiles. You can't forget about those. They're on land, too. That's the problem with those things. There's just no escape. Once again, going back to Solomon Island Mysteries by Marius Boerian, who lives there and is a chronicler of this stuff. And
hey, C-Spire country, who's ready to do a little speeding? Because with our blazing fast nationwide 5G powering phones and supercharging your scrolling and streaming, Slow left these parts a long time ago. Now the best network anywhere is actually right here. So welcome to C-Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps faster.
Moms, treat yourself to the best 5G smartphones on us with trade-in on any Everybody deal plan. 5G not available in all areas. Capable device required. See spire.com for details.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Like #1 selling Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors, Z Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and Sidekick utility vehicles where durability meets speed. Visit your local Kubota dealer for a demo today.
Lee Tractor Company of Mississippi. Mississippi's elite Kubota dealer. On the web at leetractor.net.
The locals sort of take it as like, well, doesn't this happen everywhere? And he's like, no. I'm from Australia originally. None of this stuff is happening there. You guys don't realize that, huh? Okay, maybe I should chronicle some of this. And he gets really in detail on his thoughts on some of this stuff and what's going on with the giants there and how it relates to other cryptids and primates and Sasquatch. And he says it's impossible for apes or monkeys to breed with Homo sapiens. So where do I think the giant Sasquatch, Yowie, Yetis, and Nephilim, etc. come from? As this answer is lengthy and complex and almost beyond imagination, it's left to latter chapters of this book where he brings up more parts of it. But for the time being, the Solomon Islanders believe that the giants were there before they were. I know for a fact the giants' gene pool allows them to breed with us, as those who follow up on my research will find out. The giants of the Solomon Islands are definitely some sort of surviving species of hominid that is closely related to Homo sapiens. As scientists tell us, it is genetically impossible for Homo sapiens to breed with apes or monkeys. Still living today on Guadalcanal, the goodness knows where else are Homo sapien crossbred descendants of the giants. Just ask any Guadalcanal person, they'll tell you about them and where they are living. Here are some examples I know of. Apart from the two huge half-cased giant women that can be found living in northeast Guadalcanal, there are the half-cased and quarter-cased huge men who have eighth-cased children to Guadalcanal women who are still living today in Tangarari on the weather coast in southwest Guadalcanal. Anyone can go and see these huge interspecies bred people. Even though Silver was another one, died in the early 1990s, Genny, his son, and his children, some of whom have bred themselves, are still alive. The huge quarter-case giant Genny is renowned by the people of this area for being able to selfishly eat a whole pig by himself, bones and all. And crocodiles, too. A few funny stories about this extraordinary man are found in later parts of the book. DNA samples for analyzing research from the Solomon Island giants and from the crossbred human descendants would be an invaluable tool for many future developments in genetic research. They might even aid the search for life-saving medical remedies and help determine our and their origins. Further and of interest, in 2002, a scientific doctor of the University of Papua New Guinea mapped the DNA of the Melanesian people and found slight differences from that of other Homo sapiens, like Europeans, which he found bewildering. I would like to speculate, says the author, that I might have an answer to his bewilderment. It is quite possible that over thousands of years, Papua New Guineans, Solomon Islanders, and Vanuatu people have had their DNA slightly altered by interbreeding with the giant races of the islands. Why are the giant Sasquatch, Yowie, and Yeti around the world so secretive and universally shy? As those that follow on the research in this book find out, it's not exactly the same case in the Solomon Islands, but it has something to do with the complex answer as to where they came from. This, too, is answered also in this book. With Homo sapiens and other hominoids, the Solomon giants are both carnivorous and herbivorous, as most Guadalcanal and other Solomon Islanders would bear testament. These mystery hominoid people have, until recent history, considered the coastal human beings of Guadalcanal and the Solomon Islands to be a reliable source of food, somewhat similar to another meat to be eaten if required. Over the millennia, many thousands of Guadalcanal and Solomon Islander people have lost their lives by being cannibalized by these giants, hence the reason for them being a major part of the Solomon Islands' overall history and grassroots cultures. He says, during my limited research about the existence of the Solomon giants, I found that they had actually once considered the Solomon Islander people like, quote, pigs to be eaten, unquote. This primitive type of thinking tragically led to coastal children being penned up in cages and raised to be eaten when they were bigger. There are numerous handed-down folklore traditional stories in which the giants would once storm villages, grabbing people, ripping limbs off, and eating them right there and then. well, of course, people were also running in absolute terror. Also, there are many stories about what the Solomon Islander people call the, quote, killer giants, unquote, who would persistently return to their villages to make a meal out of them. Sometimes during these village attacks, there were groups of these killer giants, and there's one of these stories recorded in the book. It's his belief that one of the major reasons why the Solomon Islands population is far smaller than it should be is because, with over 5,000 years of giants of the islands considering people to be food to be eaten, these people never had the opportunity to breed very far. Even if it was only 50 people a year who were cannibalized by the giants, at just over 5,000 years, that's 250,000 people who never bred. Unfortunately, the statistics of the giants' cannibalism seems to be far worse than that, and those who succeed in following up on his research will find out. So there's a good reason to not go vacation there, Dave. And now there are other cryptids there too, and he mentions in Makira, which is east of Guadalcanal, there's a small, super strong dwarf-like midget giants, which he said he forgot to mention could be found in Guadalcanal also. There's another type of undiscovered hominid race that can be found living in the Solomon Islands. He says, I only have knowledge of these existing on 2 different islands, but no doubt they're on many other Solomon Islands, and reportedly they are on Vanuatu also. While I'm on the subject, these undiscovered hairy, super strong, 4-foot midgets. Recently, scientists reported having dug up an undiscovered hominid midget skeleton in a cave on one of the islands in southern Indonesia. And this book's a little bit older now, so of course he's referencing Homo floresiensis, the Hobbit, and now since then they've also got Homo luzon. And he says, of course, the scientists named this small hominid the Hobbit. Maybe if any of these scientists ever get to find out about his book and believe that he's not lying, they might go to Guadalcanal or Makira where they can find the live versions of these things. And if they have difficulty describing to the indigenous people of the islands what they are looking for, they should just say to the locals that they are looking for the Choa Choa, or the other pronunciation, the Chocho. In 91 and 96, there were front page pictures of one of these reddish-haired, super strong, 4-foot-tall Choa Choa in the Solomon Star newspaper. In the 96 front page article and picture, he wandered out of the jungle into a village near Gold Ridge, and so they put a pair of shorts on him and took him to Juanara to show him off. The front page picture with the Choa Choa being led by the hand down the main street of town with hundreds of indigenous people following. The Guadalcanal and Makira Islanders know the Choa Choa, and which is, of course, in his suspicion, the hobbits, as being a species of giants, but at the opposite end of the scale spectrum. These Choa Choa have never been known to ever harm the indigenous humans, and so are considered more of a novelty rather than a terror when they're seen. And, of course, the nearby Australian Aborigines speak of their similar little reddish hairy men that they call the Junjidi, and I've had guests on my show twice who talked about the Yowie and the Junjidi, both of which she had seen. Other cultures around the world, more particularly Indonesia, have reported having the same. And he says, I know of stories from Guadalcanal people who have talked of seeing the little Choa Choa people in the jungle, and while chasing them for their amusement, observed that they displayed the extraordinary ability of jumping considerable distances beyond what a human is capable of. He also adds that, although I'm curious about them, I've never been particularly interested in researching them further, only because I've been more preoccupied with other things. Yeah, like giants that eat people. Like, yeah, okay, I get that. But might I say, they must live socially somewhere. His friend Peter tells him he knows where they can be found, but one thing at a time. Like other Solomon Islanders, throughout their history, his great-grandfather, right down to his father, have all customarily spent a lot of their attention on the giants. And so, again, this book is very strange because it comes across not so much as like a folklore fairy tale giants thing, but like he ain't kidding. This stuff is going on. What led me to this book is because one of the reports that's in that book I had found elsewhere in the regular news of strange stuff going on, and that was the bulldozer blade incident we talked about last time. And then I got there's a guy that actually lives in the Solomon Islands that's writing about this stuff, and that's one of the stories in his book. So I tracked the book down, and it is very eye-opening that a lot of this stuff is going on. And further in geopolitics, part of the reason he opines that there's been a large contingent of Australian military there is because they know about these giants and some of the UFO bases, and they want to keep close tabs on it. And very recently now, the Chinese with their Belt and Road Initiative have been trying to worm their way into the Solomon Islands. And Australia is in the worst position politically that they've been in the Solomon Islands for like decades right now. So it's very interesting, kind of wondering what's going to be happening over there.
Do you think that this case of giants is one of very few in the world, and maybe places that we haven't seen? We've heard of giants in Afghanistan, in other parts of the Middle East. We've heard of these Sasquatch-type giants that are said to be living in the northern part of North America and even in the jungles of South America. Do you think there's these hidden pockets?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at one time that they were one of the more elder races that was more obnoxious, and everybody kind of teamed up on them and helped get rid of them. And then if you believe the biblical narrative, the flood was all about getting rid of them. But since then, there's the smaller giants, the Rephaim, and which by their description, they're about the right size, and that's Kandahar giant size. It's the size of the other giants that are still being reported as being seen in different parts of the world. So yeah, there would be, and it makes sense that Solomon Islands and some of those areas would be places where they persisted because the locals were incapable of wiping them out effectively. So they're still there. And it's interesting to note that on all these islands, as an example, the people all live around the coast because the giants live inland. You can't live inland. They'll eat you.
I don't want to be eaten by giants. I really don't.
Nope. But if you're on the coast, you got to be careful around any kind of, rivers or anything, or the crocs will get you. And if you go swimming in the ocean, the sharks will get you. And he also mentions in the book that there's been island-to-island invasions before. Like their island sucks so bad, they want to get off it and go invade another island. And his opinion is that one of the reasons might be that they think maybe that island over there doesn't have giants on it. So it's worth going and trying to take over the other island in the hopes that it doesn't have giants on it. And he says, I hate to burst your bubble. They probably know this at this point. They all have giants on them.
2 minutes to go here, my friend. If somebody goes looking for these giants, are they all dangerous?
No, it talks about later in the book that there was a giant king that spent a bunch of time with humans and came to realize that humans weren't just pigs that you should eat. And he ended up, when he came back, taking over most of the giants on Guadalcanal itself. And since then, which was quite a few decades ago, the giants on Guadalcanal have not been eating humans. And at one point, the ones on the north end of the island didn't agree, and the giants actually went to war with each other to decide if they would eat humans or not. And the ones that were anti-eating humans won. So Guadalcanal, you're pretty safe to not be eaten by giants on. Just have to worry about crocs and, sharks. But the other islands, no such thing exists from what I understand. So, you're at your own risk if you're on any place in the Solomon Islands other than Guadalcanal. You're probably still giant munchies.
Super Duke, where can everybody find World Bigfoot Radio? You got a minute.
World Bigfoot Radio. Oh, yeah. You can find me on my group on Facebook. I also have Montana Bigfoot Project on Facebook. I have I have World Bigfoot Central on MeWe. And my show you can find on YouTube, Bright Eon, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey.
And, of course, you can track down that wonderful hair if you want to go Bigfooting down in Montana or up in Montana, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Duke, you were wonderful once again, and I very much look forward to talking to you next week with more of your cryptid reports. They're always so awesome, my friend.
Thanks, brother. If you guys want some more awesomeness that happened earlier today, guests on the show, all of us, BMR, Tex, and myself on Brunch with Bigfoot. And that was quite the good discussion. Heads exploded. Go check it out.
Well, I appreciate that. Coming up next, it's Dave 101. How can Tim Burchett, the U.S. Congressman, talk out of both sides of his mouth at once when it comes to UFOs? We'll hear more on the Dave 101 next, then Shirky Poo's News. We'll be back. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. That was a good show there, Super Duke.
God, I'm stoked now. This is going to be one of those Dave 101s of epic proportion. Truly epic proportion. I can tell. It's going to be like the last time Dave was on my show, and the expletives were deleted.
There were a couple of them. Get off my lawn!
I had to delete a couple I did too, Dave. So
shit. Yeah.
We both got a little bit steamed up on that one, I think.
Thanks, BFRO.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, I had to throw a couple more barbs of devastation at them on BMR's show earlier today, so you can go back and check that out, too. Yeah, this whole thing with the giants there on the Solomon Islands and in some of those areas, it's really freaky. And if you look at all of these tropical islands that are all in that chain and nearby and connected and stuff, they've all got reports of the same cryptids. They just got different names for them. But it seems like it's just the Solomon Island chain that has the cannibal giants on it.
Of course.
The other ones have all got versions of little people and Bigfoot, and that's it. They don't have these giants.
Wow. Hi, Caribbean Free Spirit. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Yep, there goes the goddamn pizza that I was eating earlier.
Pizza. Yeah, Low Pro. The scary thing here is they still exist. It's not past tense. Go to the Solomon Islands, become giant snack food.
I hate Tums. Miss Dill Pickles, how you doing? Long time.
Did you eat spicy food again?
No, I followed up spicy food yesterday with pizza today.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of qualifies as
just
spicy food.
Absolutely dumb. Absolutely.
I live on taco, burgers, and pizza, so my system's adapted to it.
Not happy with myself right now. Well, at least I've had my 8 glasses of water today.
8 glasses of water. Well, thank God. The Surgeon General is happy with you now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lordy.
You know what I did was I up here, like all of these jars I use, they're old spaghetti jars, like spaghetti sauce jars. Just peel off the labels, and they're great drinking glasses. And
Plus, you can put a top on them when you're drinking outside and you don't want a hornet getting in your glass.
Yeah, it happens, right? You know, hummingbirds, hornets, whatever.
If you're drinking mead or beer or something, those little bastards will try and get in your beer or your mead or something. And then you try and accidentally drink them and they sting you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take that happening very many times. You go, I want a lid on my beer mug.
Yeah. I hate small glasses. I hate small glasses. Drives me nuts. And you notice, like, glasses seem to be, if you go look in the stores these days, glasses seem to be getting smaller and smaller.
I've noticed that.
You know, like...
Yeah, for a while I thought I was still getting bigger, but no, the glasses are actually getting smaller.
I'm going to be 49 years old this year. I don't need a fucking sippy cup. You know? Jeez. The Great Awakening. How are you? Welcome to SOR chat. Yeah, I don't need a sippy cup, man.
Well, as you get older and mobility becomes more problematic, it behooves you to have a larger drinking vessel.
Exactly.
Like this size, so you don't have to get up and go and refill it very often.
If I'm going to wake up 3-4 times a night to take a piss, okay, I'm getting my full money's worth with 2 1/4 cups of water here.
Damn straight. Can't explain that to the kids.
That's right. Get off my toilet! You know?
That dang kid hugging the toilet.
All right. Hi, Stunning Pam Smith. How are you? Uh-huh. Damn it. Now I'm fired up over the sippy cup thing. That's your fault. That is completely your fault.
Well, just add the rage to the fuel to the fire for your upcoming Dave 101.
Are you sticking around, or are you heading out?
I actually got a program that I got to finish editing, but I think you can handle it.
All right,
want me to hang around? I can hang around.
Yeah, hang around. I don't care. It's up to you. Go edit. I don't care. Surf Chair, one of our favorite veterans here. Thank you so much for that super chat, my man. We also got to say thank you to Ben, Gary, R&R, Rob, and Marty as well. Very much appreciated. Yeah, Duke, up to you, man. Because we got like 20 seconds to decide. I'll send you.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. It's like I said, I did another show 13 hours ago. I'm kind of tired.
Go get some sleep, man.
Thanks, brother. I love you, man.
Take
Looking
care.
forward to being on again.
Bye-bye. Love Super Duke. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're headed for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time, once again, where I'm going to fire things up with the Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
You know why people hate politicians? Is they are continually talking about...
Take care of your property with equipment you can count on, like the Kubota BX and LO1 series compact tractors, part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup, rated #1 for reliability, and Z-series mowers and sidekick utility vehicles, where durability meets speed. Visit your local Kubota dealer for a demo today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit GoKubota.com for a dealer near you.
At Omni Hotels and Resorts, you'll discover endless ways to enjoy your summer. Do you want to explore a new city or relax at a resort? Do you prefer the sights of downtown or the beach at sundown? Do you want to golf like a pro or go driving off-road? No matter what you're looking for, you can do it all at Omni. With over 50 destinations coast to coast, the hardest part of planning your dream summer getaway is deciding where to go. Explore all we have to offer and book now at omnihotels.com/summer.
Both sides of their mouths. And when we want to get something done, we know that these elected officials who are supposed to have the backs of the people really only have the backs for themselves. This is why they could say they're angry on one hand, but on the other hand, not say anything about it. And this has now infected the UFO world. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about it. I understand, but I'm not happy about it. Here's what's going on if you're not paying attention. All right? Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who's a Republican, by the way, says he's not taking it anymore from the Pentagon and military officials about what they continue to hide about UFOs. He is quoted as saying, "There's an arrogance in government at that level that we cannot handle what's going on out there." On balance, with Leland Vittert, he says, "It's a bogus cover-up. It doesn't fit, and it's about power and control." He goes on to say, "I don't trust the Department of Defense to get this right, since leadership there has always been part of a cover-up. Now, Burchett is a member of the House Transportation Aviation Subcommittee and represents a district where there have been numerous reports of UFO sightings. He goes on to say, it is clear from public evidence that we don't have full control of our airspace. That's a national security issue, and it's also unacceptable. He goes, we need to take the shackles off the entire program. We need to put pressure on the government, on the Pentagon, on funding and everything else, and say enough is enough, bring forth what you got, and let the American public decide. I trust the American public. Release it all. And he wants everything to come back from Roswell on forward. Look, this sounds like a dream. This sounds perfect. This is what the UFO world has been waiting for. But wait, there's more. He says, it's not a tinfoil hat thing anymore. You've gotten a pilot describing something that has been described for decades since Roswell, New Mexico. It's a little tighter high level than I believe we're being told. The government is part of the cover-up, and they're not going to disclose it to us because they don't trust us with having enough sense to diagnose. It's very frustrating. However, let's go to the other side of Burchett's mouth. Because in this same interview, when he was asked if he has seen things that caught him off guard, he said, yes, I have. And he would not explain what that yes, I have was. Now, granted, to his defense, it may be because of a non-disclosure agreement. There are things that he has learned that have obviously scared the representative of Tennessee and would probably scare many of us here, whether we're in the UFO field or not. Imagine the public finding out what Tim Burchett knows, what Marco Rubio knows, even what Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon know. Are they ready? Are you sure you're ready? Personally, I still sit on the side of no, the public is not ready. We don't know how it's going to affect the markets. We don't know how it's going to reflect religion. Because remember, UFOs are not an American problem. They're not a Canadian problem. They're not a Chinese problem. They're not a Russian problem. They are a 7.8 billion people problem. Now, the word problem may be a little strong because we don't know, as far as we've been told, as to whether or not the aliens have even landed here. To the experiencers, of course, we are already knowing. But to the rest of the world, who is more interested in staring at their cell phone screen than they are staring into the sky or paying attention to what is happening around them, they have no clue. I will say this, and I've said it before, and I will remind you again. COVID was a great litmus test for what the government would see come out of people during panic time. Who here still has toilet paper stocked up in their storage room that they got at the beginning of the pandemic? Show of hands, anyone? Now, we're hoping that there's more logical thinkers out there than those who were hoarding everything from ribeye steaks to toilet paper to Metamucil and condoms. And I say that facetiously, but you all know that's what happened. We saw the worst of humanity during the early stages of the crisis and the pandemic. What about aliens? How are we going to react? Hollywood hasn't done any favors. The government hasn't done any favors. Nobody has done us any favors. What it comes down to is, we have a politician who says he's speaking for the people, but he won't tell the people what he already knows. Yes, he doesn't want to be kicked off any subcommittees. Yes, he's a career politician. He wants to make it to the top as far as he can go. Yes, he has seen things that have probably frightened him and made him question his own faith, his own religion, his own security. And if he really cares about America that much, probably every American person out there. Now, on the flip side, we are also hearing news that the Canadian government has been briefed on UFOs at the same time. Now, this goes beyond what Lou Elizondo said on this show, where he kind of outed me for setting up meetings. No, this is with the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, which I'm sure the guy put his UFO alien socks on for the occasion. And if he did, good on him. That would probably be the only good move he's made in 2022. But the idea is this subject is starting to get bigger and bigger. Those who are elected are getting outraged, as they should. But still, we as the public are put on hold. We're shoved to the side. Tim Burchett, we're going to invite you on this show, and we will let our audience know whether or not you respond, whether or not you say yes or no. Because I want to get your opinion. I want to know what you know. And if you are all about disclosure, going back to Roswell, what makes you think that people, not just the American people, can handle what is going on? And if it is that awesome of information, why aren't you telling us what you know? Look, the public is tired of the secrets. They are tired of the cover-up. This is why someone like Lou Elizondo is stepping away from this field, at least publicly for now, because the UFO community is pissed off and mad about it, to quote a Texas Hippie Coalition song. Great song, by the way. Check it on out. Why are they mad? Because for years we have been told and laughed at, told we were liars, that we were sci-fi geeks, that we were very imaginative in our belief system. No, there weren't aliens. It was just people, but your mind was hazy because you were on too much drugs or alcohol, or schizophrenic, or bipolar, or any other type of mental disease. No, it wasn't UFOs. It was swamp gas. It was flares. It was anything but aircraft. And now the government wants to be the good guy in this. And the UFO community, even though we all have our fingers crossed, isn't buying it. And they are continuing to put the pressure on. And good on the UFO community for doing that. We're tired of the stories. We are tired of the cover-ups. And we are closer to disclosure, a full-on disclosure, than we ever have before. So much so that we can taste it. And that is the reason why we are upset. We want to know why this is going on. We want to know why that there are UFOs in our skies. We want to know the dirty little secrets of whether or not there are UFOs and alien bodies at Area 51. We want to know what Lockheed Skunk Works has literally, retrofitted from ancient alien craft that crashed here a long time ago. We want to know if Ben Rich was right, saying we have the technology to get E.T. home again. After all, whether you are across the United States or whether you're watching where I am, the cover-up in Canada, our taxpayers' dollars are paying for that in the hundreds of millions. And they're playing us for dumb. Why? Because those who wore tinfoil hats were actually right. And now we have to hear politibabble, nice word there, politibabble over UFOs. That get off my lawn type of attitude that Tim Burchett is having right now. Look, I am very happy that Burchett is continuing to press. But what we need, Representative Tim Burchett from Tennessee, is we need you to be the mouthpiece, the whistleblower, to tell us what truly is going on. If you care about America that much, open your lips and tell us what you know. If it's that important for the American public and the UFO public in general to know what's going on, how about you be the leader, the catalyst, the man behind the mask? Open up and tell us what you know. In other words, have the cojones to tell the people what they're missing out on. That is your Dave 101. Leave me a response below. If you're on YouTube, let me know what you think. And let's get right to Shirky Poo's news. All right, we all know this hot romance between Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox, who led to their engagement and them drinking each other's blood. Well, a high-profile member of the vampire community has issued a caution to the power couple. Co-founder of the New Orleans Vampire Association, Balthazar Ashtanison, warned the couple to take proper precautions before drinking their lover's blood. He said Fox and MGK need to be sure they are testing each other's blood for potential diseases and blood-borne illnesses. Ashantason, there we go, also clarified vampires are not immune from such diseases. Founder of the New Orleans Endless Night Vampire Ball, Father Sebastian, I think he's been a former guest on this show, to be honest, also issued a warning. He said that blood withdrawal should be done by a trained medical professional. The senior vampire's comments come after Fox confirmed to Glamour magazine that she and Machine Gun Kelly, whose real name is Colson Baker, like to slurp on each other's blood from time to time. Yeah, so I guess to drink each other's blood might mislead people or other people imagining us with goblets like we are on the Game of Thrones, drinking each other's blood. It's only just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes only. Okay. Let's move on. Philip Sos... I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Sotsos. There we go. Claims his former colleagues owe him a cut of their winnings, even though he no longer works with them and didn't play the lottery when their ticket won. However, the group of 16 winners are looking to have his lawsuit dismissed. You see, this lottery pool at their work started in 2015, was meant for employees at the auto parts delivery company at which they worked, in order that if they hit, they would split it evenly. Their winning ticket came in June 22nd, 2021, nearly 3 weeks after his last working day. The last draw Sotos took part in was on May 25th of that year. He asked to be included in a few more draws, but had to borrow money from co-workers to take part, and more often than not, never repaid the loans. 3 weeks later, Sotos told Reed he was having issues with his girlfriend and looking at going into rehab. He was not heard from again by anyone at his former workplace for about 3 months. The following month, the group of 16 won a $1 million prize, each of whom had to pay to play. Now, Sosos, of course, he wants his cut, but he was not entitled to share of the prize because he did not ask to be included. He did not pay any money to play. He was still indebted to Stephen Tedesco for money he borrowed to play in 4 prior draws, and he was presumed to have checked into rehab to address his personal and substance issues, the court document reads. Then in October, Sotzos learned of the win and texted that he was pretty pissed off that he wasn't told directly by them, but was happy they had won. I'm more hurt over this than mad at all of you, read the text, which made no mention of his feelings and that he deserved a cut of it. The plaintiff's claim is a portion of the lottery prize. It's merely a desperate afterthought from a regretful, troubled, and jealous person, the court document concludes. We're going to see how that one turns out. I have a feeling that Mr. Phillip there, he is going to be on the wrong side of the law on that one. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Not loving it. Nope, not at all. By the way, what kind of dude do you have to be to propose to your fiancé in a McDonald's? Like, do you really think that that is something that is going to go over properly? Let's see. A marriage proposal at a busy McDonald's ended in a harsh rejection, no kidding, for the man down on one knee. Video shared to social media appears to show a woman refusing the matrimonial offer made while she was in line placing an order at the restaurant inside a South African mall. The woman in the 45-second clip can be seen shaking her head in disbelief and exchanging some heated words with the man before she stormed out of line, "Sans burger." How does this happen? The man then grabs the order, turns his shopping cart around, and leaves to jeers and cheers from the crowd, many of them filming the embarrassing situation. The April 27th video has gone viral, more than 3.7 million views, and the reaction to the rejection was swift. Proposing at McDonald's might be a sign of insanity, one person shared on Twitter. Another offered some sage advice to people who would like to propose publicly. My opinion is to have an informal discussion with a partner to know if they would appreciate a public proposal. I genuinely feel these people getting public embarrassment do not even know where they stand in the relationship, but expect the ring to act as leverage. Not this time, my friends. Not this time. And finally tonight, congratulations to the original Atari Miss Pac-Man. The game has finally been entered into the World Video Game Hall of Fame. They also announced Dance Dance Revolution, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Sid Meier's Civilization. I want to say a big thank you to everyone tuning us in tonight for a wonderful show. Thank you to our good friend Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio coming in for an awesome cryptid report. Swamp Dweller at youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads for another great spooky story. And of course, Melinda Leslie joining us for the first couple of hours, breaking down UFOs and experiences. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Take care of your property with equipment you can count on, like the Kubota VX and LO1 Series compact tractors, part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup, rated #1 for reliability, and Z-Series mowers and Sidekick utility vehicles, where durability meets speed. Visit your local Kubota dealer for a demo today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit GoKubota.com for a dealer near you.
Basketball legend Don Staley understands what it takes to sustain greatness.
Everybody sees the success. Nobody's mind really goes to what it took to be successful. As an athlete and as a coach, I work out every single day. I, for one, am drawn to challenges. It's ingrained in me. Basketball has given me an incredible gift to be able to guide young people, to be a dream merchant for them. I love it. That journey that leads you to success come with incredible adversity, both physically and mentally. When I look back on my career, I'll say it's well worth it. I wear Ufos because it provides recovery. And once you try them, you'll never wear another slide a day in your life. They are seriously life-changing footwear.
Try Ufos for yourself at ufos.com. That's OOFOS.com. Ufos.com.